All right, guys, welcome back to Remotely Wasted. This is our week 3 college football episode. We got the top 25 pulled up that came out Sunday. There's a lot of movement in this top 25, especially the bottom half's really interesting to me. With Florida in at 25, you can see the teams that got votes. Clemson got votes, Missouri got votes. I think it's a kind of interesting that Missouri didn't get in with that win over K-State,
I agree.
and Florida got in, but they have a loss on their belt. Granted, it is to Utah.
Yeah, this weekend was like an absolute disaster for like the landscape of it just is absolute chaos that ensued. There was so many just crazy games, upsets, people almost getting upset. Intense weekend.
It was one of those weekends going into it. You thought, oh, this is going to be a boring weekend, and then
Yeah.
it turned out to be like the best weekend in a really, really long time.
I think we highlighted a couple games on our last episode, and I think they turned out to be bangers.
I'm pretty sure we're like this probably won't be a good game, but it could be. Like keep an
Yeah.
eye on it, and then it ended up being a crazy game.
But let's say we got Clemson sitting here with 76 votes. That would be important for us having them ranked this week because we do play them,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Leave it to a fucking Florida to ruin that for us. But anyways,
Do you think Florida
um,
should be ranked?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
do you think they should like? So I'm looking at the top 25, and I just think Missouri should be ranked after that win against K State.
I mean, you could maybe even take Tennessee out. I would probably take Tennessee out.
You can argue
I
taking
would
Iowa out because they haven't really played anybody, but they have played really good so far.
I would have a 2-1 Florida team over Iowa.
Yeah, Iowa's
So
not. I
yeah,
mean, the defense is looking phenomenal, and they actually looked really good in their last game. I don't think they really played anybody important
right.
yet, but
I would
they're
I,
looking like a much better team.
I would keep them at 24. Switch Florida and Tennessee, or actually take Tennessee out. Put Florida where Tennessee is. Put Missouri.
Tennessee, man, that
Put
was a
Missouri. Yo, man, Tennessee, you let me down so hard. I was all on their ball sack. I was like, this team's gonna be good. I had them in my playoff. I was like, Tennessee's going. They're running the SEC gauntlet. Might have a loss. I mean, they still could, but I don't see it. And then they come into the swamp and just get absolutely shit on.
it was just really interesting to see Tennessee lose that badly.
Yeah.
You were high on them
I
last
was. I
week.
told it. Oh, they was one of my playoff teams.
They could technically still make the
Yeah,
playoffs. Do you think this was indicative of Tennessee, how bad Tennessee is, or do you think it's just the pressure of a rivalry game and they
I think
don't
it's.
win in Florida ever?
I think it's that, and I think also like Florida might not be as bad as we were thinking. We were thinking they was abysmal. See, we could go down this rabbit hole real quick because I had I had this prepared, but it's gonna be a little. We're gonna wing it a little bit, right? So we'll kind of. All right. So Florida lost to Utah, right?
Right.
Okay, 24-11 at Utah. Not too bad. Um, Utah beats Baylor just by a bit, right?
Right.
Yeah. Baylor gets blown out by Texas State.
Okay. Who Texas State? Where are we going
So
with
we're just
this?
going with we're just against Texas State, like fucking absolutely really good. Like, is Baylor that bad? Because Baylor almost beat Utah. Utah beat the shit out of Florida, and Florida beat the shit out of Tennessee. So like, is Utah really good? Is Florida really good? Is Baylor actually not that bad?
Or
Like,
is Texas State really okay? I see
or is
where you're
Texas
going
State
with
really that
this.
good? Like, I was like, what the fuck? I seen this score line. They dropped 77 on Jackson State, and I was like, wait a minute. And then they lose to UTSA the week before, and UTSA is a solid team, but I was just like, wait, it just all kind of like lined up really weird, and I was just like, we have to look at this.
Maybe Florida is better than we thought. Looking at that,
Yeah,
or maybe all
coincidence?
these teams are just
This
even,
is
just
all
really
bad.
evenly matched
They're all
teams.
bad. I must actually lost that for a second. I was like forgetting where this was ending, and I was like, oh yeah, back to Utah, kind of. Um, so Utah could really be the leg that all of this is standing on. Maybe Utah's really just really good, or they're really bad, and then they all are bad. So I think it all kind of rides with how Utah is playing is like how we can kind of value the rest of them, maybe.
I think Utah is really good because you got to consider the fact that they haven't had Cam
They
Rising.
still like, what the fuck's wrong with this dude? He was supposed to be
Apparently,
back. Like,
his surgeon's the one that's making the final approval.
if they think they can win the games and stay undefeated, yeah, sure, why not? Because he's your best bet of beating these big Pac-12 teams, and it's gonna be a fucking shootout. So you're gonna need him. So if they need to let him rest for a couple weeks and they think these, gimme games, man, why not? But they almost fucked it up and lost to Baylor. So
I mean, if you're
uh,
gonna bring him back, I think you need to bring him back this
Sooners,
week. They got UCLA this weekend.
and they got to get him and gotta get some reps going. They can't just throw him in at like Oregon or some shit and like, oh, good luck, go run the offense. Like, it's not gonna be a good time. They might fuck up and lose this week.
I think that's a strong possibility because
It's very
UCLA,
possible.
we don't know really how good they are, but they've looked
No.
really good against the teams they played so far. Except for the first game, I think they played like Coastal Carolina or something, and they struggled a little bit. But since then, they've looked really good. I don't know how good they actually are, but we'll find out this weekend for sure. And if they pull off the upset, UCLA is going to be a team to watch out for.
Absolutely. I think another team to watch out for is Washington State. Washington State's kind of catching a lot of people's attention. I think they've kind of like graduated a little bit above that sleeper team into like the next step, which I don't really know what that would be. But there's a step there. They're not a sleeper team anymore. This team they'll fuck you up. And I think there's a good game with them this weekend.
Yeah, they are. They're playing
Oregon State.
Oregon
Oregon
State.
State supposedly the best defense in the Pac-12. Washington State might have one of the best offenses in the Pac-12. Hanging 50 on Colorado State, who Colorado struggled with this weekend, was supposed to be one of the best offenses in the country. They took down Wisconsin, which is a pretty good team like every year. So we still don't really know about Wisconsin. This will be a really good game.
This is
Really
one of
good
the
game.
most evenly matched games so far this season because
I
Washington
think
State has
so.
such a high-powered offense, and
Yeah,
Oregon State has
now.
pretty good defense. But it's like, which is going to come out on
Oh,
top?
and Oregon State's defense or offense is pretty good too. They got DJ, what's his nuts sack
Huey
from Clemson.
Gundy.
Yeah, I'm never gonna even try it. So they're a pretty well-rounded team. Oregon State, other than Utah, is the other well-rounded unit in the Pac-12. So this is gonna be a fucking really good game.
With it being at, it looks like it's going to be at Washington State.
I think so. I don't really know what
Yeah, that's what it
the
says. That's what
crowd's
it
like,
says.
but shit, I'm for it. I kind of want Washington State to win, but I'm really like excited to see Oregon State finally be good. I don't think I've ever seen them be good since I've been watching college football, other than maybe like an anomaly year that just isn't really standing out to me.
Usually, Oregon State is either bad or they're like bottom of the top 25. They're never this high. I've
No,
never seen them at like 14 unless they were last year, which
absolutely.
I don't think they were at all. I don't think they're anywhere near that last year.
Yeah, they're sitting up behind Bama. Like, imagine that. Like, who would have thought? This is crazy. I
It's,
love it.
it's been a
We'll,
wild year.
we'll
I
get
didn't
there.
see who
We'll get there,
Miami even
Bama. We'll
played.
get there.
Yeah,
Miami. I think they blew somebody out.
I think they're playing a nobody that
Bethune,
game.
Bethune
Yeah,
Cookman. Bethune, whatever. I don't know. Miami, I guess, has looked pretty good. So, but they also haven't really proven anybody or proven themselves
proving
to.
themselves to anybody.
Yeah. That. So their schedule is pretty lax, really.
That
North
Georgia Tech game
Carolina
is going to be a little bit of
could
a
be a
sleeper
trap
game
team.
for them because they Georgia Tech played really good against Ole Miss this weekend.
Yeah,
The score doesn't really reflect that because Ole Miss got a last second score at the end, but they have
yeah,
Haynes King, who was the quarterback for Texas A&M last year. He's super mobile. He really can't pass very well, but he could kind of run all over our defense. And I don't know how good Miami's defense is. They struggled a little bit against A&M, so they're kind of a question mark at defense. There's still a
yeah.
question mark all around until they really start playing somebody noteworthy.
They could definitely get caught up right here, looking ahead at North Carolina for their kind of first big ACC game. I mean, they get Georgia Tech, so their first game, but yeah, they'll probably beat them, but they could stumble a little bit.
They beat North Carolina. They're gonna be up there. They're like
Yeah,
they're one of those big schools like
I
Texas or Florida where they just gotta win a big game and they're gonna shoot all the way up.
yeah. I wouldn't say like Miami's back, but I don't think they're bad. they're definitely probably better than they were yet, or not yesterday. Yeah, I mean they probably are better today than they were yesterday, but last year.
Mario Cristobal's done a great job recruiting. He's
he
still getting pretty good recruits in.
he has to have a good year. I think he's gone. He was on our hot seat last year. He kind of has to win. Miami's one of those programs they want to win. They want to be relevant again, especially seeing recent successes from other schools in Florida and in the conference. Yeah, they want to be good again.
We got Colorado.
Man,
Game of the week, I'm sure on me for sure. I don't know if that's your game
same.
of the week.
It's you kind of have to. It has to be. That might be like one of the games of the year. That game was so like intense for such a random rivalry that nobody cares about outside of like the fucking state of Colorado, or maybe you're an old Colorado fan that when Colorado used to be good, and so the rivalry was probably better back then. But man, what a fucking barn burner! This game was so good. Uh, and then the trash talk before it, the hype, it was almost like a set up like a fucking UFC fight, with the
Yeah.
fighters. They probably might have set that up behind the scenes. I could see it to
It was pretty.
to
It
garner
had
the
the
attention.
intensity of like an NFL playoff game.
Yeah, it
The
did.
environment, the crowd was. That's the most packed I've ever seen Colorado in
I
my
it
life.
had the attention of the country. Like there was like six sports shows at this game. Like the Pat McAfee show was there, College Game Day was there, like all these different shows, like the Big Noon fucking kickoff or
Kickoff.
what other fucking shows called, even though
They
the
had
game
like
wasn't.
non-football shows there. Like 60 Minutes was there to
Oh
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
interview Dion and stuff.
Like and like all imagine all this fucking I feel so bad for these kids on this team, right? Like they have all this shit just sitting on top of their shoulders, like I couldn't imagine. And then
All the
going out
eyes are
there
on
and
them.
like the entire country like wanting you to fail, wanting you to succeed, like it's crazy with like all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes that you kind of catch a glimpse of, or you're like, oh, that's crazy. It is very crazy.
I mean, everybody was watching that game. People are staying up late as hell to watch that game. I stayed up way later than I normally stay up just to
It,
watch that.
it ended at like what 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, like close to 2 in the morning.
Absolutely,
It was a game.
absolutely incredible. So this was obviously both of our games of the week. I mean, it was in Colorado. You had 0-2. I think that they were 0-1 at the time going in because they just come off their bye. A crazy thing too, because they'd moved their bye week for this. Like I guess they got the schedule or some shit, and they was able to move their bye week to before this game to
To
prepare
prepare.
for this game. Like this is Colorado State's is like Super Bowl, I guess. This is a big fucking deal to these two schools, but not necessarily all the Colorado players because they're all new, so they didn't really give a fuck. It seemed like, and you could tell Colorado State came out fired up, and they were firing off on all cylinders. It seemed like they was getting after Colorado,
Yeah, I
smacking
mean
the
they
shit
came
out of them.
in well prepared. I mean, we're going to talk probably a lot about Colorado during this episode, but Colorado State played phenomenal most of the game. They
Yeah,
came in there intense. The defense was doing really good stopping Colorado, who has one of the better offenses in the entire country to this point, at least as far as we know. And they
yeah,
were stopping them over and over and over again. They were really cutting into Colorado's defense too with those kind of little midfield
the
throws,
little slants.
medium, yeah, those slants, just attacking the middle of the field.
Yeah,
They're really exposing Colorado's weaknesses.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
at the
They
end of
just
the day, I think just Colorado's more talented.
yeah,
And as the
absolutely.
game got along and
They were
more
kind
people
of
started getting tired, the athletes
yeah
at Colorado were just more conditioned for
outlasted
that
them.
moment.
Yeah, it was contrary to the scoreline here, it was this game seemed like it was Colorado State's. It felt like they had the game from like the beginning. It was theirs to lose, and they just had their foot on Colorado, and it felt like it was almost it was up by two scores, and it just kind of felt insurmountable to Colorado because they couldn't do anything on offense. Like they could do absolutely nothing.
When it was 28-17, I was very close to just turning it off and
Yeah,
going to sleep. And I was like, "No, nah, I'm gonna keep watching." And
anything could happen, and
It did.
Fucking sure enough, Shador Sanders on this drive right here channeled his little Tom Brady ass and was cooking.
One of the most clutch drives I've seen from a quarterback in college. I mean,
Uh,
you see a lot of clutch moments,
the
but to drive
Vince Young
98
drive,
yards up the field
you
and
could
then
just
get the
tell,
2 point,
man. He was fired up. You could tell he had that look in his eye, like he was so fucking mad and had that fuck this team. I'm gonna just do it myself, and he was. I think the first 3 plays he just ran the ball himself, and it was working. So he did what he needed to do and got him down to score, which is absolutely incredible drive.
losing Travis Hunter really hurt them during that game too. It was a
And
there was a dirty hit.
the momentum too just tanked. Like as soon as he went out, like the stadium was just deflated. There was nothing going on.
He plays both sides of the ball. You're losing so much at once, and he's
That's the
probably
worst
the best
part.
receiver on the team, which is crazy to say because that's not even like his main position. He's more of a
Yeah.
defensive guy coming out of high school at least, but he's probably the best receiver too. Then he gets knocked out of the game. It was a dirty hit. I think some of the responses to the dirty hit have been a little bit wild. The death threats, the guy shouldn't be suspended. The flag was probably sufficient enough.
I think that at most maybe ejected for the game, like the rest
Yeah,
of the game.
like a targeting.
Yeah, something that I could see them maybe looking at this and maybe making a separate rule from like targeting, for like an egregiously late hit like this because it did look like he was trying to hurt him.
Oh,
Like
absolutely. No, he intentionally hurt him.
yeah, and you could tell. So I could see them maybe looking at this and maybe making a new rule for this and setting some sort of punishment. Um, yeah, it's just a little. It's so extra. Like leave the fucking kid alone, man.
Yeah, I mean,
He was hot. It's a rivalry game. He's in the moment. Yeah, it was fucking wrong, and he really could have hurt him, but I mean, you can't take it back.
I've seen worse
Facts.
things happen, and especially in the NFL. And it's like max a 1 game suspension. They're talking about he needs to
Yeah,
get suspended for 3 or 4 weeks. It's not
yeah,
that
it's too
serious,
much.
but
And I want to shout out the fucking Colorado State quarterback, man.
oh yeah.
That guy was playing his tail off. I think other than Shador, if you take his 98-yard game winning like pretty much game winning drive away, I think Colorado State's quarterback had a better game. He was that dude was composed, calm, cooking.
And that
And
Horton kid at receiver, oh my
oh my
god.
god, the kid's unstoppable. I know the announcers were just sucking him off the whole game, but to be fair, he deserved it.
They were sucking off the whole team. Like he NFL teams need to look
No,
at
that
this guy.
this kid though for sure.
Yeah.
It gets incredible. They could not do anything to stop him. I don't know. It didn't even look like they were trying. He might be that good, or they were just playing really bad defense. It could be either or. But
Yeah.
absolutely incredible game.
Colorado State's defense wasn't too good, but Shiloh Sanders with that pick was
Huge.
big.
I would say Colorado State probably should have won this game. They
Yeah, I mean
had
it
it
was their game to lose in the fourth quarter, and then Shador
right
just did
here.
his thing.
Fair enough. Good game. Good game. Good game. Next week though, it might not be as good of a game. We'll see.
Well, I mean you can't count Colorado out,
You
but
can't. Not now. Not after that. But they're going to be facing better offenses down the road. That I don't know if they're going to be able to just let them keep scoring and not get it. The offense is going to have to come in and be firing from the first drive. They can't go like a whole quarter without scoring against Oregon and USC. It's just not feasible because Oregon and USC are probably going to drop 40 on them. So they're going to have to score at least 40 themselves. They don't have time to wait to get in rhythm. And then losing Travis Hunter on offense it's going to be a even bigger loss on the offensive side of the ball, I think.
Yeah, I mean if you look at it on paper, like everything is going against Colorado going into Oregon. Like they should lose this game.
I really hope Colorado wins, but I don't think they will.
They're going to Oregon. They don't have Travis Hunter. They're coming off a game where they struggled quite a bit. They should lose, but with this Colorado team, you just don't know. This we'll know for sure this weekend. Like if it's even close, Colorado has something this year. They're gonna be a problem. If they get blown out, they're probably gonna, maybe win 8 games or so, and it'll still be a good season, way better than last year.
Phenomenal season for them. I don't know. The team excites me. It's a good feeling about it. It's awesome. It's a cool story. Story of the year.
It's one of the most exciting things to happen to college football. It's made everything this season more interesting because you got all these good teams up top, but then you also have Colorado just kind of creeping up
Well,
every week.
there's a lot of bright spots kind of just in the field of the 25 that's not, powerhouses. Um yeah. All right, Duke's still looking solid.
Looking really good.
I think do they have a big game this weekend? No, UConn. Okay.
UConn. They
Yeah,
looked
yeah.
good against Northwestern. Granted, it was
Yeah.
Northwestern.
They're just gonna keep on cooking. They'll eventually run into some, or I think it's somebody's eventually gonna run into them and get fucked on. And I really hope it's not us. So I don't know. Duke scares me. Duke's a scary team this year. I don't know why. There's a very it's like there's a dark cloud above them, and it's not affecting them. They're bringing it.
They're just very flat. They're flying under the
Yeah.
radar. Even after the Clemson win, they're still very low key. Teams are still underestimating them.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna come out being one of the top teams when it comes down to it.
Man,
It's really interesting this year. All the basketball schools are having really good football seasons.
This could be like that year that like when Florida State did win the national championship. We played Duke in the ACC championship. So this could be one of those years. I think we actually played Duke though.
You do.
Yeah, so I don't know how that would affect them on their side to make it in. But I think they could still make it with one loss. I know they weren't undefeated when they made it the last time.
No, I don't think they were. Then you got North Carolina. I'm still not
North
sold on, I'm
Carolina
not
looks
sold on them though.
they look beatable. They're barely like kind of shaking out wins. They're not dominating like they should be. Like this one was they should have lost this game, I think. Or at least they should have went to overtime 100%. And they probably would have lost. This game was super close for a while. And then Minnesota, I think this game was relatively close for a little while too. Okay, not so much.
It wasn't really close, but I mean, it's Minnesota. They're not the best team in the world. They are good. So I mean, that's a decent little win for North Carolina. It makes them look a little bit better. They really don't have to play. I mean,
Pitt's a good team. This will be a tough game. They'll probably still win this. I think they could struggle a little bit. Syracuse, I don't think they're as good as they have been. They don't have a
still
quarterback.
undefeated, I think.
Yeah, this Miami North Carolina game is going to be very good. Be probably an offensive shootout. So we'll see. We'll see what North Carolina's got come then.
Yeah.
Oh, time to shine.
Boomer. Yeah, we looked really good against Tulsa. 5 interceptions in the game. That's the big thing that really stood out to me was how good the defense played.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel had an amazing game. He threw 5 touchdowns.
5 touchdowns, yeah.
Receivers looked really good. This is the best the receivers have looked since Lincoln Riley left. The running game wasn't all there, but we're so deep at running back. I don't think the running game is going to be such a problem. Next week we play Cincinnati, and Cincinnati is coming off a loss to Miami of Ohio, which would make people think that this is going to be a cakewalk. But hey, what I've come to see is when teams lose to really bad teams, they come back the next week like fired up.
Nah, I think that Miami of Ohio, there's a rabbit hole there. I had that somewhere. We might have to check that one out.
That's a possibility.
I do have a SMU rabbit hole right after you're done talking about OU that relates back to OU, so don't let me forget.
I mean, OU's looking good so far. There was a period of time in the second quarter where Tulsa put in their backup quarterback and they started scoring a little bit, which made me a little bit nervous. But second half, OU came back out on defense and looked good. So far, so good. Everything from OU is looking really good. If we beat Cincinnati next weekend, I think OU should shoot up a lot higher because then they got Iowa State the next weekend, which would set up probably a top 10 matchup between Texas and OU for the Red River rivalry as long as they win their next 2 games.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't know what you have till you get into conference play, which is going to be this weekend.
True. Yeah, after that, I've been kind of leaning more and more to OU being the Big 12 champion and potentially a playoff spot because their schedule is super favorable. Texas is looking like it's it. So we'll see. They looked really good today. Was this time of possession because you guys were like scoring so much? They were just getting the ball back really quick and taking
Yeah,
forever to
we were
fucking drive.
scoring really really quickly, and then we were
Yeah.
getting interceptions, which would cause even quicker scores.
Yeah. All
So when you
right.
have 5 turnovers and then you're just scoring really quickly, you're not gonna have as much time in possession. They really weren't doing much with their possession times. Yeah, Dylan Gabriel looked great. They threw Jackson Arnold in a few times. He threw like a 50-yard bomb. So we're deep at quarterback, we're
Hey,
deep at receiver, deep at running back. Defense looks good. It's just we don't know what we have till we get into conference play. But everything I've seen so far, OU looks like a contender. But we'll see this week. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself because we're in this exact same position last year. We're 3-0,
yeah.
and then everything
Disaster
went
struck.
downhill after that. So
I
we'll
mean,
just see
it's
where it goes.
y'all being good and like looking this good right now is like I think beneficial for y'all for next season with Jackson Arnold getting all these reps.
Yeah,
It's all garbage time, but I mean these teams probably still have their starters in for the most part because obviously they're still trying to score and they're still trying to stop you from scoring. So he's getting like probably first team looks. So it's super
yeah.
beneficial for him for potentially start taking the starting job next year.
He's not getting redshirted either. I mean, because this is this third straight game being played, they're gonna keep him in the whole year.
Yeah,
I
especially if
don't
you're
think
blowing
he's
teams out, why not get
so.
him as much time as possible?
Well, I think they're worried about him transferring if he didn't see the field at all this season. So they're trying
Yeah,
to keep him happy and give him some experience.
that's very true. But let's see here. SMU, that's what I was looking for. All right. So you guys beat SMU 28-11. I think at the time we was like, okay, it was a little scary because it wasn't such a big gap like we was thinking it was gonna be. And then you said what SMU has like the fucking fourth best like offense last year or something.
They've had a top 15 offense for the past 4 seasons.
And then they like come in and jump 69 on Prairie View. I know it's Prairie View, but I seen that and I was like, Jesus Christ. So
They have a hell of an offense. So I think that game is not as bad as it initially looked.
right. So that's just kind of interesting to me in this TCU game. I don't know. SMU might come in there and put some smackdown on TCU's ass. But
It's a good chance because Sonny Dykes was the head coach of SMU, so they know a lot about his strategies.
yeah. Hey Matt, this OU might be their only loss this year. If they can beat TCU, I don't see them losing.
Yeah, they'll probably win out the rest of the way.
Yeah, so that TCU win's gonna look even better. Hell yeah. I
Yeah, it was
don't
a good weekend for OU football. We got Ole Miss at 15.
Ole Miss
They
is
played all right.
they're they're playing exactly like you would think that they should be playing. They're they're just getting shit done, being quiet, and got Alabama next week.
Yeah, I watched the Georgia Tech game. I watched pretty much the whole game. Jackson Dart is a lot more mobile than I thought he was. He can really get out of the pocket and take off for some yardage. Um, he played pretty good. Ole Miss is they're a decent team. They're going into Alabama, but Alabama has put Milrow in
Yeah,
as the starter for this week. So I
as
think
they
this
fucking should.
game is not going to be as easy as people think. I think people are assuming Ole Miss is just going to destroy Alabama. With
I think they
Milrow in,
could.
I think it's going to get a little bit closer than people had initially thought. I think Ole Miss probably still wins though.
I do too. I have Ole Miss winning, so I don't know. Alabama is the ship is on fire. Are we abandoning ship on Alabama?
This is their week to
It,
calm things down. If they can't win this week, all
they're
hell
like
is going to break loose.
they're like losing the team, because they're switching quarterbacks middle of the game, not starting the guy that has been looking okay, like probably your best bet, and then not even putting him in when you guys are almost gonna lose to Southern Florida. Like, what the fuck are y'all doing? That game was incredibly close, and they should be fucking counting their blessings that this team has no fucking offense to be seen. There's
Yeah.
non-existent.
Since we're talking about Alabama, I will talk about my most disappointing players of the week.
Yeah, I got
Both the
player.
quarterback, both the
That's what
quarterbacks.
I put. I put fucking Alabama quarterbacks, and then the entire performance was the worst performance of the week. Might be the worst performance of the year.
They're not my
I
worst by a team because they
They are.
won.
They're
I
mine.
try not to give a winner a worst performance of the week, but
Oh,
the quarterbacks they combined for just like 112 yards or something like that. It was ridiculous.
dude, they were so bad. It
The
was
only theory I have for Saban not putting Milrow in is that when he told Milrow he wasn't going to start, Milrow took it really bad and didn't handle it in the most
that's
mature way. That's the only thing that
that's
makes sense.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, Milrow and him had some sort of altercation of some sort, and he told him he wasn't starting because they were like, okay, it's Southern Florida, it's a gimme game. We'll probably be okay with our defense, and we'll win the game. So fuck it, why not? And then I also heard fucking Alabama's new offensive coordinator was Bill O'Brien. He's back, and then I think
No, Bill O'Brien's still with the Patriots.
or not Bill O'Brien. What the fuck's the dude's name?
Oh, Reese.
Yeah, the dude from Notre Dame. So I
Yeah,
guess they bring this dude in. He brings Tyler Buckner over from Notre Dame with him, and then they got this Ty Simpson kid. So they were saying it was fucking Reese's decision to not start Milrow and to start Buckner,
because he has a relationship with them.
potentially, or because maybe they just wanted to see how he played.
He
They
played
put
awful. He
him
was
in.
worse than Simpson, and
They put
Simpson
him
wasn't good
in.
at all.
He plays absolutely fucking terrible. Can't get the offense going. So he's like, oh shit. Turns to Simpson because he don't want to look bad and doesn't want to put Milrow in, just I guess further prove his point. And he comes in and luckily is able to stir a drive to get him a fucking
Yeah, he had
touchdown.
that one drive where he looked pretty good. He looked all right. I
Yeah,
wouldn't even say he looked
he looked
good.
all right. I
He
mean,
looked okay.
he did what he was supposed to do. Uh,
Honestly, I feel like UCF or USF kind of gave the game to
they
Alabama more
did,
than
they
Alabama
did,
won the game because their
they
quarterback was trying to launch. They would get good little check downs going where
they'd
they're
get a
building some
first
momentum,
down.
and then they would launch a long pass down the field for an interception.
Or the dude was just trying to throw it long after any slight thing would go their way. They'd get like a first down from like a holding or some defensive, holding type thing, and then they would just take a shot downfield. They just
They're
weren't
getting way
getting any
too greedy.
separation. They weren't able to run the ball. So like, why the fuck is the secondary gonna, like, why are they gonna respect you trying to run, like trying to throw it? They're not gonna help. They don't need to help. The front seven's absolutely obliterating you.
You know,
So
I will say the quarterback Byron Brown, he did his best. He was running, he was doing all their teams rushing for him. He just
yeah,
didn't really have a great arm, and I think if he just checked the ball down a little bit more, they probably would have done all right. But
yeah.
there's a
That
good
that
chance those
interception,
long plays were by design.
his one interception of the game really fucked him. It was at the end of the game, and they were driving, and I think it was 33, and then I think Alabama, it was 10-3, I think. So
Yeah,
Alabama had like just scored, so they needed to score back to keep it
send
close.
it to overtime. It was getting to the point where it was going to be overtime if they had scored.
Yeah, so it was absolutely abysmal from the Alabama offense. Alabama defense played pretty well. They
They looked great.
they smothered them as they should, as they should. They did give up 92 yards, but rushing quarterbacks seem to be giving fucking everybody trouble this year, and it's pretty hard to stop them if you're not prepared for it. Which who knows? Maybe they weren't prepared for a rushing quarterback, or maybe the kid's just really fucking good at running,
Yeah, and
not so
then
much at throwing.
let's see, where are we at? We already kind of touched on Oregon State, so we can move up to LSU, who had a great game. This
Yeah,
further makes Florida State look a lot better because LSU looked amazing. Jaden Daniels had a phenomenal game. I think he was my player of the week, if I'm not wrong. Let me look real quick. Yeah, Jaden Daniels, 30 for 34, 360 passing yards, two passing touchdowns, and two rushing touchdowns. So he looked phenomenal.
pretty good. They absolutely shit on Mississippi State, who was 2-0 coming into this,
I thought it was going to be a semi close game. I thought
and they
Mississippi
were
State
at
was pretty good.
home. Yeah, I think you were talking about this could be a potential trap game for LSU.
No, it turned out to not.
No,
Yeah, I definitely was saying that, but turns out LSU is looking really good. I have a lot more confidence in them going forward.
for sure. And I would like to say I have a lot more confidence in my team going forward because of this win, but yeah, Well, yeah, Utah, they didn't play anybody. Still no Cam Rising. Bo Nix played nobody with, or they played Hawaii, dropped 55
Yeah.
to 10. As they should. It's Hawaii. Notre Dame, they played Central Michigan. It was a little close, I think, in the first, second quarter. I think it was only up by maybe a score. They was tied, and I was like, "Ooh!" I threw like a little $5-10 bet on Central Michigan to win, and it was gonna pay like 400. And they just ended up getting blown out the rest of the game. And I was like, "Okay, worth a shot." But Notre
Yeah.
Dame still looking solid. Sam Hartman, he's dude's cooking.
Yeah, this was Sam Hartman's probably worst performance of the season, and it was still a very good performance.
Yeah,
Just that speaks to how good he's playing. He only threw about like 60%, which he's normally up towards the 80 range, but I mean, he still looked really, really good in that game. So that just speaks to how good Sam Hartman has been this season. Notre Dame, they got a big game coming up against Ohio State.
fuck yeah, they do.
That's gonna so far like that's probably the aside from Florida State and LSU early in the
It's like the
season and
biggest game of
Texas
the year.
Bama. This is like the third really big game we're getting this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of playoff hopes on this one. So yeah, I mean, either team like they lose, they might be out. And then Ohio State, if they fucking lose and then they lose to Michigan, they're definitely out. I think Notre Dame wins this game because it's also a home game for them. They've been looking very, very good, way superior to than they have been in recent years. And Ohio State, they look good today, or not today, this weekend. They put 60 something on Western Kentucky, but I'm not sold on Ohio State this year. I don't think they're as good as they should be.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sold on Ohio State either. I don't know about this game though because this
It
we
could be,
don't know about Ohio State.
yeah.
They could be really really good.
I think it'll probably be close, probably within two scores. I don't think either team's blowing the other out unless Notre Dame just comes in and absolutely shits the bed and gets blown out by Ohio State. Now Ohio State's like actually really fucking good. I could still see that, and I would be very fucking disappointed. But I could still
I think
see it.
Notre Dame, I think they're gonna win probably just because I think what they were lacking last year turns out was a quarterback, and now they have that answer, and
Yeah,
he's made a world of a difference to how well they've looked.
yeah,
I
they've
think
been.
they'll end up coming out with the game, but it could go either way. It's one of those games. It's tough to really make a because we just don't know with
Yeah,
Ohio State.
Notre Dame has been lacking a quarterback forever. And I think the transfer portal and the NIL plays like super heavy for Notre Dame. Like now that they can finally kind of just go out and snag these transfer quarterbacks. Because so I think a big issue with Notre Dame is like they're an academic school, so they're not really going after these athletes that are 5-star kids coming out of high school with shitty grades because they don't qualify. They're not. I'm not saying they're not smart enough. They just don't have the grades to get in. So now with the transfer portal, you can go get kids that are already graduated and like seniors come in and start for you right away. And they're like basically it's like a straight shot to the fucking playoffs with Notre Dame because they're, an independent school. They usually have relatively easy schedules, one big game, maybe two. So I Notre Dame's like a really good destination in my opinion for quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's made a world of a difference to Sam Hartman. I mean, Wake Forest is they've been good the past few years, but they never surrounded him with this amount of talent where he can just
No, they have a
go out and
defense.
really ball out. Yeah, he has a defense that you
Yeah.
can rely on. He's got receivers to throw to. I think they have a pretty good tight end that he could throw to as well. The running game's not bad. Yeah, Notre Dame's a team I'm really high on. I hope they get the win. I've been a fan of
I don't
Notre
even
Dame
I don't even like Notre Dame, but I
since
think their
they
game is
switched
solid.
over to Marcus Freeman. I've liked him quite a bit. I don't like Brian Kelly, so
Nah.
I
Dude's a
didn't like
weasel.
Notre Dame with him there. I just don't like him.
He's a weasel, dude. Fuck that guy. All right. Washington, did they play this week?
Washington's amazing. Their offense
Yeah,
is.
they absolutely beat the shit out of Michigan State. That's right. Michael Penix is fucking on fire.
I think this could be a hot take. I think Washington might have the best offense in the country. He's throwing like 400 something yards a game. It seems like the man's kind of unstoppable. So from what we've seen, they haven't really played anybody too crazy yet. But from everything I've seen,
Yeah,
Washington looks just amazing.
I could agree with that.
I like Washington a lot. Like
Yeah,
they kind of blow my mind.
I'm curious like how good their defense is because that was remember Washington last time they were like really good. They had I think Jake Browning at quarterback when they made the playoff and got beat the fuck
Yeah,
down by Alabama. They had no and they thought they had a good defense for a Pac-12 team, and turns out they didn't. They also had no offense, but so I'm curious if this is like that type of Washington team. Do they really not have a defense? Is it a Pac-12 like Big 12 defense where they're like they might be good for their conference, but vastly lacking in like physical department when it comes up to the like SEC Big Ten players?
that's
I
a
don't know.
strong possibility. I
I
think
hope not.
it's the most complete. I feel
Uh,
like I've seen Washington in a long time. We'll see once they get into conference play
you know,
because
it might not even fucking matter if they have a defense. It just might be shooting out like whoever they're playing because Michael Penix he's a gunslinger. It don't fucking matter. He's gonna throw the ball. He does have like a lot of I guess injury concerns, like previous injury history. So hopefully he stays healthy and he has a really good shot for the Heisman and potentially the national championship if he can carry the team.
yeah,
Washington's good.
got Penn State. I didn't really catch much on Penn State. I don't think they played anybody too noteworthy this weekend.
Nah, I don't think so.
I've liked what I've
Um,
seen from them so far. I just Penn State's a team
they always let you down.
I always doubt them. Maybe this is their year, but for some reason with Penn State, I can't get on board until they beat like a Michigan or Ohio State or somebody noteworthy, and they beat everybody except those teams. It seems like every year.
I think this could be the year. They look pretty good. I got a good feeling about them. Like kind of they get a different vibe than they normally do, and I think it's
Yeah,
good. It's also part of the QB that they had come in. He looks really good. So they had a fucking Sean Clifford for like 5 6 years. That dude was like 35 when he left, but it felt like I think he's Jordan Love's backup in Green Bay right now. So I mean he got drafted or maybe he was an undrafted free agent and got picked up, but I mean he's in the NFL, so like obviously he's not a bad quarterback. Uh, but I don't think he was like he just couldn't get it done. He was good, just couldn't get it done. Couldn't
yeah.
finish, couldn't lead against these big teams. So we'll see if this new guy is that next step that they want to take. I hope so.
Well, I'll let you kind of touch on Florida State before we get into our top six. So what do you got to say about Florida State this weekend?
Jesus, bro, absolutely fucking disgusted. Man, I don't even know where to start. I had a bad feeling about this game, like even going into it. So it's like we got Boston College. We're playing in Boston. They had this fucking hurricane barreling down on them. So we was like, is the game even going to be played? Is it going to be postponed? Are we going to have to like play it early in the day? Like they had no idea what was really kind of happening leading up to it. Get there. It's fucking the weather's still kind of shitty. It's all overcast. I think it was super windy. I didn't know there was not really any rain, and then it just had a really weird feel to the game. I was like, okay, I wasn't feeling super confident, and they came out and started kind of whooping our ass, and I'll just say we probably should have lost this game. We most definitely should have lost this game. The refs and the penalties really saved them. Whether or not
Yeah,
all these penalties were actually deserved to be thrown because we didn't have hardly any on us. So were they just that bad on that side potentially? And it really ruined their game for them, and they lost because of it because it allowed us to kind of stay in there, come back, hold them off, and win because we had a 21-point lead at one point, blew it somehow. I
yeah.
don't
In the
understand.
third quarter, like because I watched pretty much almost all of this game.
Yeah, it's
Um,
31-10 in the third quarter. Should be over with.
and then yeah,
Done.
things just kind of went south. I mean, the quarterback he was a problem, especially on his feet. He was
Oh my god.
just you thought the defense, they cover the receivers pretty well, and he would just take off.
I think at this point, so this score here, I think that's when Toafili fumbled the ball on the kickoff. They had a short field. I think they ended up picking that fumble up and scoring off of it. No, that's this one right here. One of them they got a fucking onside kick and somehow recovered that. It was just a fucking disaster across the board. Mistakes. Jordan Travis got hurt. Uh, I thought the season was over with. He went down pretty hard. I thought he broke his collarbone or maybe some sort of dislocation. He went down really hard. Luckily he came back. We just couldn't get anything fucking going. Like we have 42 rushing yards from our top rusher. We was able to throw the ball, a little bit, but it didn't look good. It leaved like a really bad taste in my mouth. I think
It's
we
one of
got
those
caught.
games that make you a little worried.
We got caught. I think we got caught looking ahead to next week playing Clemson. Like we haven't beat Clemson in a long time. This is if any year we're gonna beat Clemson, like this is gonna be it. We have a lot of fucking seniors on our team that have never beat Clemson. Like we want to beat this fucking team. So we definitely got caught lacking. Like I said, this was a big game for Boston College. This was their fucking red bandana game. It's like a big honorary thing for them. This might be bigger than like their homecoming. So, and we're the third. We were ranked number 3 coming into this game. So obviously they're gonna play hard against us. They want to take us down. So I get it, and they played really fucking good. And props to them. I didn't like it. I didn't really like too much of anything, but we won, so I'll take it. And I think we win next week. I'm not as worried next week as I was about this game. I'll tell you that.
Well, this is
I
one of those games that kind of snaps you back into reality and
I hope so.
makes you get it together after a game like this. Luckily, you guys were able to come out with the win, so this didn't, really hurt your season too bad as long as you guys keep winning and winning convincingly the rest of the way.
I mean,
I
if we
mean,
win
as long as
out,
you guys win out, you
regardless,
guys are
it
probably gonna
doesn't
make the
matter.
playoffs.
We
Yeah.
can win by 1 point every game. I think we'll still make the playoff.
Yeah. So
Luckily,
not the best showing from Florida State, but a win is a win.
and it's at Clemson too. That's the worst.
That's a tough place to play, Death Valley. So we're going into our top 6. I definitely have some kind of hot takes this week.
Mine moved a little bit.
Who
Nothing too crazy, but
do you have at number 6?
I still got Penn State at 6.
Penn State.
They're sitting at
So
7 currently in AP. So
so who do you out of the top 6 that's sitting there in the real AP? Who do you
I don't have
not in?
Ohio State's not in.
Okay. No, I mean that's fair. I mean, we haven't really seen much from Ohio State to really make a determination of how
You
how
could
good they are.
definitely argue like Ohio State, Penn State not in, Washington in. So like that's definitely feasible.
I would say like from rank 9 to about
Even 10.
5, I feel like you could probably interchange any of those teams.
The top all the way to 11 is so solid this year. It's crazy. It's real nice.
So I also don't have Ohio State in my top 6. I have USC sitting at 6. They didn't.
Okay.
This is their bye week this week, so they kind of just got hurt by not playing.
Right.
But everything I've seen from USC is looking really good. Ohio State has their chance to obviously if they win this weekend, they're probably going to jump up.
Yeah, and if Notre
maybe my
Dame
top
wins,
4
and
or Notre
obviously,
Dame, yeah.
obviously Notre Dame's jumping up. They'll probably kick. I think who's Texas play this week?
Texas, I don't know who they play this week.
I think if they're not playing anybody important, I think they might get knocked out because I think we would slide up because if we beat Clemson, we'd slide up, and then Notre Dame would probably take 4. Hopefully.
Yeah, that's where I'd probably see that going. USC is one of those teams. I think they're gonna kind of stay in
sit
this
there
little,
until they beat
spot.
somebody.
Yeah, then they're gonna jump high up. They're gonna be kind of quiet early
Yeah.
on in the season, and then they're gonna have their opportunity to move up. So yeah, currently I have USC sitting at 6. Who do you have at number 5?
I've Texas at 5.
Texas. What made you the performance against Wyoming kind of make you slide them down
Yeah,
a
a
little
little
bit?
bit. I mean, they ultimately won, and they won by I think 2 scores. But it is Wyoming. It's coming off the Alabama win, so it could be they got caught sleeping a little bit. Maybe Wyoming's actually a decent team, and Texas wasn't giving them enough credit, which is more than likely the case. And they eventually got it going, but Yeah, make them look a little sloppy.
Yeah. I have Washington at number 5. Just they look so complete to
Yeah,
me. I almost debated moving them a little bit further ahead, but I couldn't really justify moving them ahead of the
yeah,
top four
not
teams.
yet.
They haven't played anybody
Yeah,
where
but they
like
look real good.
you got Texas, they got a win over Alabama, you got Florida State with a win over LSU. I'm granted Michigan hasn't played anybody
We're the
either.
only ones with wins over anybody. So like you could argue us 1 and 2 based off that factor.
Yeah, if
Like
you base it solely off of that, which I
off like
didn't, but that was a definitely a major factor into
yeah,
the way I was looking at it. So at number 4, who do you have?
I got FSU at 4.
That's fair enough. I mean, you kind
Yeah,
of already touched on kind of why they needed to slip down a little
I have
bit.
them ahead of Texas because we did have a fucking a bigger win in my opinion. I think LSU is better than Alabama. And LSU did look good this week. Alabama didn't look good this week, so our win, in my opinion, is better than theirs. But it's a quality win. It's still Alabama. Uh,
Yeah.
but that's why I have us above them.
Yeah, I have Texas at 4. So I do have them lower than Florida State for the reason you just said. The wins, the Alabama win is looking less impressive. And then the further along in the season it goes, we'll see how they do against Ole Miss. That could get
Yeah,
less and less impressive. Florida State has a pretty solid win against LSU, who looks really good. So I have a Texas at 4. I didn't drop them out of my top 5 because they did pull it together towards the end of that Wyoming game to where I'm not super worried about
yeah.
them, but they just didn't look as good as they could have. And then I have Florida State at 3. I
I got
had them at 2
USC.
last week.
I got USC at 3. I got them hopping over FSU and Texas, even on a bye week.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, there's nothing really bad you could say about
I think
USC so
USC
far.
is going to be really good, and until otherwise, I don't think they're better than Florida State. I think I'm like overly critical of my team and our bad performance and Texas's performance, so I'm like I guess punishing them by moving them down a rank, which is stupid, but that's why I got USC above them for now. It'll probably shake out next week to something different.
All right, so top 2. Who do you have at 2?
It's the same. I got Michigan too.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering if maybe you're gonna move Michigan above, but I have Michigan at 2 as well. Because
Yeah.
if you look at
They
Georgia,
played really
they did
sloppy. I think they had 3 interceptions from their quarterback, Michigan did. What McNamara or McCarthy?
McCarthy.
McCarthy. Fucking green jacket, gold jacket, who gives a shit? Yeah, they didn't look that good. They came out a little sloppy. And yeah, if Bowling Green had a fucking offense, this could have been a game just like the Alabama one. So maybe I think this was exactly like that Alabama game. Just Michigan has a better offense, so they was able to just pull away. Because Bowling Green also had turnovers. It was just a fucking turnover fest. 4 and 3, like only 300 yards from Michigan. Bowling Green had way more possession on the ball. That could just be because their offense is slow. Or they're some I don't know. How the fuck do they have so much time and like only 91 yards passing and 33 yards rushing? Like what the fuck are they doing with the ball the whole game?
That's what, or yeah, Michigan's
Like
just giving the ball away so much that they don't have the ball, as
I gotta
much.
watch the highlights for this. That's so weird. Like how do you it doesn't make any sense. How do you
Yeah,
have the
not
ball for 36 and a half minutes but no fucking stats? Let's
it's really weird. McCarthy really did not have a very good game at all with 3 interceptions. Blake Corum though, he's still looking good. He's getting the ball in the end zone. Blake Corum, he's kind of a sleeper, Heisman guy if he could keep consistently putting the ball in the end
yeah.
zone. Yeah, Michigan, yeah,
I
they
don't know.
struggled.
It could have been maybe Michigan was scoring fucking really quick. And then Bowling Green was getting the ball back and then not doing dick with it.
Yeah,
They could be one of those offenses that run the fucking play clock all the way to 0, like from the beginning of the game, like hoping to drag you down into the fucking abyss of the fourth quarter with them, where you're like, I've only had the ball 2 times the entire game. Like I got 7 points. Like what the fuck is happening?
I mean, that
That
often happens when there's that big of a talent gap. That's pretty
yeah,
much your only strategy is to keep the ball as long as you possibly can.
to keep their offense from getting going. That's probably what happened. Looking at the stats, because that shit don't make no sense. Your quarterback don't even have 100 yards passing, and you have the ball for like 3/4 of the game. It's so weird.
It's really weird. I mean, I think another factor in Michigan not looking super great is they don't have Harbaugh until week 5. I think
Yeah.
once Harbaugh comes back, they're gonna look a little bit better. They got Rutgers. I think Rutgers could give them a little bit of trouble this weekend, though.
Oh, I mean,
I think they'll win
I
and
think
probably
luck.
decisively.
I think luckily enough for them, like they're gonna get Harbaugh back for Nebraska, and they got plenty of time for him to, to get comfortable going for the year. Like missing 4 games, that's quite a bit. He might have a little rust on him, and then the team, like when he comes back, they might be a little different. They could drop a little bit and be a little worse, but they'll probably win all these games for the most part pretty comfortably. So yeah, they got pretty lucky. They don't fucking have anybody till their last 3 weeks. Yeah,
Yeah, those
this is
last three
this.
games are gonna be tough. They're gonna
That's
be a
it.
really
That's all
tough
they got.
stretch.
Maryland is a sleeper this year.
Oh,
They're
they're looking great.
Maryland could, beat one of these two teams, and they better be careful.
And Georgia, they struggled against South Carolina, but I think South Carolina is a decent team. They haven't looked it so far this season, but they have a lot of talent on their roster. They're one of those teams they can when they everybody shows up,
Yeah,
they're good.
they're
They're one of
good.
the better teams in the country, but they just can't always. They're not consistent. They're super
Yeah,
inconsistent.
they're it's a new quarterback. I think what Carson Beck, I think his name is. He looks pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think he's starting to get some momentum, which is bad for fucking everybody else. If somebody was gonna beat him, like the first couple games would have been the best time to do it. South Carolina fucked up.
They were winning for a good portion of that game till the second half, and then they just couldn't pull it together in the second half.
South Carolina might have ruined it for everybody and not beating Georgia this game, because Georgia, they could have just pissed Georgia off, and now Georgia might just go fucking just hit the three-peat.
I was
Like
so excited during that game. I was like, are we finally going to see Georgia and Bama just both
no,
not be in the playoff this year? And it's just looking like Georgia's probably still going to make a run for it. But
unfortunately,
it looks like Georgia, they're not
they're
as
not un.
unbeatable as they were last year.
Nobody is like everybody, almost not everybody, almost everybody, like all the big teams struggled in some fashion, and everybody looks beatable. Outside of like obviously Washington, because they look fine this weekend, but they haven't played anybody for us to question them. And like Notre Dame, Oregon almost lost to Texas Tech, so I think like Washington and like yeah, really Washington and probably USC are like the only like two people like you like they look really fucking good, but we can't really. There's no like not enough film on them, I guess, to determine that they're not like on a different level than the rest of these teams. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
I mean
saying?
that's a good. They haven't really played
Yeah.
at the highest level of competition. You could say the same thing
I,
for
I think I think
Oklahoma,
everybody I think
honestly.
everybody else has played somebody of like a decent talent to kind of like, okay, they're not unbeatable.
Yeah, I was watching Greg McElroy. He has a little episode. He does like little 10-minute episodes. He had OU at number 10, which I thought was really interesting. He had us moving all the way that far up, which I mean, like OU's looking really good. I think we're
I
super underrated at the moment. I think people are
Yeah.
kind of like, and I like it that way though. I like that people aren't really thinking of OU like that right now, and we're just kind of quietly taking care of business.
I think that's good for your team too, because you don't want them getting, overly cocky by like rankings, which I think also was a little bit what happened to us. We got moved up, and then we're like, oh, we're gonna make the playoffs, and then
We're
we
the
fucking
best, yeah.
we almost fucking lose. So I think that's really good for you guys to. This is such a good spot too to just kind of hang around in, as long as you're not having sitting here with a loss. That because that Texas game's gonna like just jump y'all right up there, and then
Yeah,
you
we
might
beat
not.
Texas. We're probably going to be like
You might,
ranked
yeah,
three,
you might not be
four.
in there, but you'd be hanging right around there, and all you have to do is win, and you're guaranteed to be in. So like, you don't even need to be locked into the top four throughout the season. Like that's just gonna make these top four teams like sweat a little bit more, because they have these undefeated teams just kind of hanging out right behind them.
Yeah, and I mean, you got a lot of you Big Ten teams that are going to end up playing each other that
Yeah,
are up there. Then you got, Washington is going to have to face
but
off against
oh,
USC.
yeah, these Pac-12 teams are about to just
No,
absolutely shit
Notre
on each
Dame
other.
plays USC this year, so I mean, you got a
Yeah,
lot of teams that are just going to take each other out. Luckily, Florida State's not in that mix really.
We got Clemson,
Georgia's
who's
not
not up
really in
there.
that mix right now, but the SEC is just you never know with the SEC.
Yeah. It's such an exciting year. I think this is such like an even almost playing field for like a lot of teams. There's no like Georgia or Alabama and then everybody else. It's kind of like maybe Georgia and then everybody else or something like that. It's so competitive, it seems.
It reminds me of the NBA when KD finally left the Warriors and went to the Nets, and then everything just kind of went to where anybody could win.
Yeah.
Anybody could win. That's kind of how it feels this
Or when
year. It
like
feels like,
Brady or when Brady left the Pats.
yeah, it's one of those years where I feel like if some random team was going to win the championship,
It
that's
this
not like
yeah,
a Georgia Bama.
it would be
This is gonna be that year.
It could be fucking like Oregon State or some random shit. Like I'm so excited. Like if my team's not gonna win it, I want someone like cool like Oregon State or Utah to like fucking get one. This is the time.
Yes, some
Just
team that has you wouldn't
just
expect.
don't fucking beat my team in the championship, you assholes. Just leave me alone.
So I skimmed. We already talked about this, so we don't have to really touch on it. But I skimmed past my best performance of the week. That was Florida against Tennessee, is who I had
Yeah, me
by a
too.
team.
That's you went to Florida as well? That's so weird.
Yeah,
I almost went Colorado and then I almost went which other way did I go? Because I didn't want to go Colorado because it went fucking really down to the wire and they were down quite a bit. So that's why I ultimately didn't go that way. And then I almost wanted to go UCF just on holding out to the only 17, but they got beat. And
they
then
got beat.
there was like one more, maybe it was like Washington blowing out Mel Tuckerless Michigan State. So then I was like, yeah, that's kind of like kicking a person when they're down. So Florida looked really good against a really good supposed Tennessee team. But I don't
Yeah, I
know.
just noticed like we went over that game, and I was like, oh, that was my best performance of a
Yeah.
team. You had Alabama as your worst performance, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a team that we haven't gone over.
You
My
you
favorite team
probably
to bash on,
you probably dug deep.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, you're right.
Oklahoma State. This is
Why have
a
they been
really
fucking?
interesting game. Probably coaches on the hot
Yeah,
seat.
that's what it was.
Wow.
This should not happen. Like
So I did some research into South Alabama. They're not as bad as it seemed like
what
because
conference
I
are
don't
they
know
in?
much. They're in the Sun Belt, so they are D1. They're power or not a power five. You know, they're up there. You know, they're in the
Yeah.
group of five, so they are eligible for the playoffs. Last year they only lost like 3 or 4 games. They
Okay.
took Tulane pretty close, and Tulane was a really good team last year. But at the same time, they're in the Sun Belt. Oklahoma State's supposed to be a top 25 team,
Yeah, they were like supposed to. They was in the Big 12 championship like 2 years ago,
and
right?
they just got destroyed. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. They got
Yeah.
destroyed by this team. I think they just have given up. I don't know what's going
Uh,
on.
fuck yeah. Or they got no quarterback. What the fuck is this? Get you got fucking Mike Gundy son out there
No,
not
they're
doing
running
dick.
3 quarterbacks this whole
Yeah, like
season. They have not settled on a quarterback. I'm like, what are you doing? This we're
probably
three
because
weeks into the season.
they're all bad. They got nothing. They got no talent. They should hold open walk-ons for a quarterback. Like
Well,
that movie with Mark Wahlberg where he
invincible.
walks onto the Eagles. I think that fucking who else needs to do that? The goddamn Jets need to do that for their quarterback.
Yeah. So the thing with OSU, I was doing some research because I was like, I got to figure out what's going on here. Apparently, Mike Gundy's super against the NIL, and
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't want boosters like setting up NIL programs for players, and he's just not
What a
keeping
selfish
up with the
bastard.
times. He's
They're
saying
gonna
he refuses. He said, I've been at Oklahoma State for 40 years. I mean, he's been the coach for like 20, close to 20, but he was
yeah.
a player and an assistant for, like another 20. And he's like, I've been here for 40 years. So I'm going to do whatever I want. Apparently,
I
is what he
mean,
told all the boosters.
I understand, and if he's got that power, I guess fucking swing that thing, you know. But he gonna fucking get himself fired because at this point you can't compete without money or some form of way like influencing players in the transfer portal to come play for you, like Dion did. That's all you got if you're not like a fucking powerhouse like blue blood school that's gonna just get recruits based off your name. Oklahoma State's not one of those teams. You're gonna get local recruits from Oklahoma, and you might get lucky and land some good players, but it's not they're not good enough, and it's not a big enough state or population or talent pool to fill a team to compete in the Big 12. It's just not feasible, and
The
and
the
Mike.
thing with Gundy is like this team, Oklahoma State, when OU and Texas announced they're leaving,
This
that
was
they
their
were the
conference.
favorite to. It was like this is OSU's conference now,
They're gonna dominate.
and now you got Colorado coming in next year.
Colorado, it's Colorado's conference now. They're
Oklahoma State
fucking
looks like they might not even be one of the top teams in the conference at this
they're
current moment.
they're gonna be a bottom feeder team. I think all of the teams that they brought in are gonna be like the new dogs. Like
Utah, Colorado,
yeah,
like you got
Utah,
two
Colorado.
great teams
You
coming
got
in.
SMU who's just dogging on motherfuckers. You
No,
got
SMU's going to the ACC.
oh that's right, never mind. Cincinnati. Cincinnati's been really fucking good.
UCF, you have
UCF is like, I guess, they've got a national championship or some shit, whatever the fuck they got for their undefeated season.
oh,
So
that one
yeah,
undefeated
so
year.
UCF's good.
You
They
got the
got Gus.
Arizona teams coming in.
I think they got Gus Malzahn still as their head coach, right?
Yeah, I
So
believe so.
so they got some shit cooking. Yeah, OSU's got a fucking terrible road ahead for them, and they still have K State hanging around. So K State's still gonna be a fucking. I don't even think K State takes over the conference unless they figure something out. I think they're just going to be kind of like they are now.
I think it's Colorado's conference, Colorado and Utah. One thing, this is off on
Yeah,
a tangent here, but
we've
out
had
of the
plenty.
whole Pac-12, everybody's found a new home except for Washington State and Oregon State, and I think the Big 12 should pick them up because they're both looking really, really good.
They could win the fucking Pac-12 this year. Like, I mean, it's crazy to think like the Heisman and the national champion could come from like the Pac-12, and it's looking like it's very likely because they all look really fucking good.
They do look really good, and it'd be such a shame if Oregon State and Washington State ended up in like the Mountain West or some other conference that's not that great.
I don't.
I think the Big 12 should pick them up, or the ACC should pick them up, or
Yeah,
Big 10. Somebody needs to pick them up. Both those teams are looking really good, and it'd
they're
just be a shame to see them drop.
they're proving themselves, and I think this is definitely the year to do it, to have this good of a season that they're having. Because if they have a really good year, it's just gonna like make them a little more desirable to bring to your conference.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but looking at OSU, let's see. I don't even know if they win this game.
They're underdogs going into Iowa State. They're 4-point underdogs.
If they beat Arizona State, like what the fuck happened here? Like this is Arizona State's not. I think they're better than South Alabama, probably.
The thing that's
Hopefully.
really crazy is Central Arkansas is like that's like a D2 school, and they barely beat them.
And this is at home. This South Alabama game. It's at home.
OSU fans have got to be furious. I've heard all of them are wanting to fire Gundy at this point. I've never heard that before. They're always
I
super
think
supportive, but now I think everybody's just ready to get rid of them and
if
move on to the future.
if they don't win this Iowa State game, they probably lose every game the rest of the year. They could maybe beat Houston because I think Houston might be one of the weaker teams in this list.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. This is crazy, but I wouldn't count them out in Bedlam just because it is the
No.
last Bedlam,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's there's
Shit happens.
there's something that to be said about it being the last one. They're furious with OU for leaving. I still think OU wins, but it's it's a rivalry game. You can't count anybody out. OSU is just not looking good. It's just really sad. I saw somebody make a really good point about OSU, how TCU had Gary Patterson for so long, and he was kind of like their Gundy,
holding them back.
and then he was good enough to get them to where they were, but he wasn't good enough to get them to the next level. And then as soon as they let him go, they make the playoffs. And I feel like OSU is probably in that boat where they probably just need to move on from Gundy and bring in somebody else.
Yeah, it really just I think it depends on who they can get. I think TCU really struck gold with their coach. I think he's a really good coach. They'll probably have a down year this year. They're not going to be as good. They might not even finish ranked, but I don't think that's necessarily his fault. Because that was like his first year last year, which is fucking nuts. He took his team to the fucking playoffs, and I think it was his first year. So Uh,
it was his first year as the TCU coach, and I mean
yeah,
they lost so much talent.
yeah,
You
and
kind of I think you get a pass when you lose that much talent the next year.
it might take him 2 to 3 years to get this team back to where it is because none of those fucking players he went to the playoffs with were probably his recruits. Like if that's his first year, unless he had a whole off season to recruit. I'm not sure when he was actually brought on board, but it's gonna take a while for him to get his team finally going the way he wants them to go. So I think TCU will be good again, just not for a little while. And Oklahoma State will probably be in that same boat. They're going to be really bad this year. Gundy will probably be fired before the year's even over with. If they lose next week to Iowa State, it could be next week. And then if they lose the next week after that, it'll probably be then
Yeah, his days are numbered.
for sure.
Crazy
Unless
thing.
they can finally like squeak out some wins or something, but it's not looking feasible.
So player of the week already touched on mine was Jaden Daniels.
Oh, I
Who
went
did you have?
Shador.
I was tempted to. I have
Well,
this thing where I don't like to talk about people in
yeah.
my Heisman top five for player of the week.
Boy, he did the inner Tom Brady. 348, 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception, and he was back there getting harassed the entire game. Only got sacked 4 times. And then he ran for 3 yards, which is how does he have a long of 15 but 3 yards rushing?
Probably getting sacked.
Yeah, true. So he's not really a runner, but like he does run. I don't know how he has such bad rushing stats.
He keeps his eyes downfield and he tries to make a pass out
It
of
gets
it.
it gets tackled. Yeah,
But he had a great game. It was one of
he
the
had a
performance of the year so far to me.
he had a really good game. I'm for him. I like him. And then who'd you have?
I might have Jaden Daniels, which I already touched on. He had a really good
Yeah.
game. So I guess we're going into Heisman top five. Getting interesting again this week. At five, who do you have?
I got Sam Hartman at
Sam
5.
Hartman.
I did a little shuffling of my 5. I don't. Let's see. I don't think I dropped anybody. I think I just shuffled my 5. So my 5 should be the same from last week, just in a different order. I think I had Sam Hartman at like 4, maybe 3. I'd have to like undo all my notes. I don't write my shit down. And
Yeah.
then so he played a good game. It's just I think everybody in front of him and like they're all playing just a little bit better. So I don't think he's gonna really find a way to move up in the Heisman rankings and some of these guys unless some of these dudes lose. I think
Well,
he's
I
gonna
think
have a
he has a
good
great opportunity this weekend against Ohio State
he does,
if
but
he
I
plays great.
I don't see him winning to be honest with you. And I don't even see him making the top 3 by the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it really just depends on how the season shakes out. It's super impressive. He still
He
hasn't thrown an
could.
interception.
He could. I
Three
just don't
games, no interceptions.
it's
That's
good.
impressive.
They just haven't played anybody crazy. NC State, not too bad. They usually have pretty solid defenses. He did get sacked 4 times. That was like so far that was like the best of the teams he's played so far, and still no interception. So he's so experienced. He's been in the like I almost said the league. He's been in college playing quarterback for a long time. Like so, he's against this inferior talent. He should be fucking dominating, and he is. I like Sam
Yeah.
Hartman a lot.
At five, I went with Jordan Travis. He slipped a little bit, but he's still in my top five just because he didn't really play bad. He just didn't do anything
Uh,
super crazy either. It
I
was
mean,
just kind of an average performance.
he played better than he did last week, like on paper. Yeah, he didn't have as much yards as like he would have needed to either move him forward in the rankings or keep him where you had him. He just didn't play like really that great. He did what he needed to do. He was trying to do too much, and that's how he got hurt. But and as much as I hate to say it about him too, I don't think he's gonna win it, unfortunately. The people that are like up ahead of him, like Penix and fucking Caleb Williams, they're just throwing for too many yards and they're scoring too much. The gap is widening by like a significant margin, like already. Like look at like he's only got 720 29 yards. Like Sam Hartman's already got 1,000. 13 touchdowns, 8. Like Travis is just not. He's not doing enough like for himself to make this an award. He's going to be able to win, which I'm all for. Like he could still win it if he leads us to an undefeated season. I just like I don't think he's going to be able to do it unless that's a thing.
I think he's still a pretty strong possibility. Like for me, I still think it's like still a wide open field. I still think there's probably 15 to 20 guys that could make a run at the Heisman just because it's so early in the
15 to
season.
20.
Yeah, I mean nobody's played anybody yet. Once you get into the thick of competition, it's going to
Yeah.
narrow itself down probably to 10 to 8 guys, and then
I
halfway
already
through the season it'll be
I
like 4 or
already feel
5.
like it's kind of narrowed down to like about 9. So like you got R5 that we've been tossing around. You got Bo Nix from Oregon, Gabriel from OU, Washington State's quarterback. His name's like Cam Ward. That motherfucker going crazy.
Yeah, you got a
Um,
Ewers,
yeah, Ewers from Texas, and then here let's just
Corum at Michigan
um,
quietly.
and I think that's it. That's
I think
probably
I think DJ could
and
emerge.
Drake May from Carolina.
Drake may. I think Dante Moore from UCLA, if he has a good win against Utah, could climb
Yeah,
his way up.
but I think that's it. I think that's one of the winners is like the winner's gonna be one of those dudes. It's probably gonna be Caleb Williams. I don't know like why we're even like fooling ourselves, but yeah, just for the sake of like having the argument. But I think it's one of those guys, and nobody else has really kind of popped up yet. Maybe there's somebody having a quiet season that's kind of right
I
there
think
out of
like
the
Jackson
range.
Dart is still kind of having a good season at Ole Miss. I think there's still a lot of guys, but I think this weekend we'll probably see a lot of those guys fall off completely to
Right.
where they're not really in contention. So my number 4 was Sam Hartman. So our 5 and 4 were just kind of
Mhm.
swapped. It looks like. So I mean we've already kind of touched on those. So now we're moving in up. So Quinn Ewers is the guy that dropped off my list
Okay.
for
And
this
then
week.
yeah, I had Travis at 4 for me. Hartman 5, Travis 4.
Yeah, so ours are just flip flopped. So I had Travis at 5 and then Hartman at 4. So number 3, I have Michael Penix Jr.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're the same at number 3.
No,
A lot
I
of
got
our
I got
oh, so
Penix
that's
at
not your
2.
oh, you have him at 2.
Yeah, I got my shits out of order.
Oh, so yours is out of order.
Oh,
Okay,
because
I thought that was in order.
yeah, no, I got Shador at 3, and you got Penix at 3. I only had Shador up here because he was my player of the week
Oh, I thought you were
up here
rolling with
first.
him as your number 1.
No, that I
I was
only
like,
had
whoa,
it
that's
because I
kind of
was like,
bold.
yeah, I just had my tabs open by order of like our topics.
Okay,
See, I
okay, that
got you.
makes more
Yeah,
sense.
she's trying to cheat. Yeah, Penix is fucking unbelievable this year. This dude's going crazy. So 1,332 yards. So he's got 300 more yards than Hartman and almost 700 more than Jordan Travis. So one less touchdown, one less interception, first in QBR. Granted, he hasn't played anybody really any.
400 yards every single game, though. That is insane.
Like it doesn't really matter that he's not playing anybody. Like that's still 400 yards. Like
And is
that's
averaging
every
400 plus
game.
yards.
And he's not even throwing for like a lot of attempts, like 35, 38, 40. So like 40's his
Pretty
max.
standard, yeah.
That's yeah, it's nothing crazy. He's not throwing like 50, 60 times to get 400 yards. Like that, he's slinging the ball. Pretty good, over 70% completion percentage. Really fucking good. He's only been sacked one time. He's playing really well. I think his O line's playing really well too. And I'm curious to see when they play somebody with a defense how he plays. I'm so excited.
Yeah, he's one. I'm just super high on him. I
And
think
he's a
he's gonna stay.
lefty.
He's gonna stay up here the whole season. I don't think he's gonna
No.
fall off a whole lot.
And
He's
he's a
gonna be in the
lefty. That's
conversation.
so cool. There's not very many good left-handed quarterbacks that come out. It's like one every like 5-6 years that like pops up.
It's the year of the lefties. We got Dylan Gabriel quietly having a really, really good season. He's
Is Sam
lefty.
Hartman a lefty too?
No, he's right-handed.
Is he?
Yeah, I think those are the two main lefties. And Dylan Gabriel, I might add, he's creeping up. I think he's
I
creeping up.
almost put him in my 5. I think Jordan Travis might fall out unless he has a big game next week.
Yeah. So you had a
So
Shadur at 3.
yeah, I got Shador at 3. I don't think he's better than Penix. He's not having a better season stats wise. I think he's playing better, like in a different way. It's I
Like
don't
the
really
eye test.
yeah, I don't really know how to explain it. He looks really fucking good. And he's playing with like I think superior, not superior, inferior talent than Penix has. Penix
Yeah,
has way
absolutely.
better receivers. He's got an offensive line. Colorado has no offensive line. Not a soul. They might as well not even line up. Like just put the center and just hike the ball. Like that's exactly how much time he has.
It's a
And
terrible offensive line. He's really kind of carrying the team. So
he
he was
is.
my number two. So our 3 and 2s kind of flip flopped. But yeah, Shador had a really good game. Honestly, if he could keep this up, like let's say they beat Oregon this week, just for a hypothetical, he's gonna shoot way up because I feel like that Colorado State game, that's the first like Heisman moment I've seen
Yeah,
this season.
it's a live rival game. It's just tough.
98 yards down the
Yeah.
field, and he got the 2 point conversion, and
Yep.
then he goes in the double overtime.
He's all over fucking TV. Everybody's talking about him. So he's everybody's got him on their mind. So it's gonna be like, oh Heisman, oh Shador.
Yeah, that was a Heisman moment right there. If he could pull out
I
maybe
think
another one or two of those.
he could lose a game and still win over somebody that hasn't. I think it's possible
I think he
based
could
off
win.
the
I
hype.
think he could maybe even lose a couple of games
Yeah, based off the hype, which is fucking nuts. Like it's so weird.
because even Caleb, he lost 2 games last year before the Heisman went out, and he won still. So I think it's
There was
entirely
nobody else on
possible.
like a significant on a like same level with like undefeated team. Like he was just better than
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah. I mean, because I think Stetson was one of the finalists, but
Yeah.
he wasn't like the reason they were undefeated.
So if like fucking Caleb Williams is undefeated and Shador's like lost 2 games, but like Shador's had like a better stats and like look season, I think Caleb Williams would still probably win it.
Yeah, I think it's really Caleb's to lose.
It's
It's just
and
the
it's like the way the voters might go. Like, do they want to give it to the back to back guy or do they want to give this
they
dude
don't
with like
like
two
doing that.
losses?
They don't like giving it twice. It's only happened one time before in the 70s. So
Yeah.
it's just like, is he really going to be the first one to do it in like 40
I don't
years?
think nobody like people don't really like Caleb Williams like for his personality. They just like him because he's like really fucking good at football and he might be like one of the best players to like ever fucking play, like some people think. So like that's the only like I don't think people like Caleb Williams for Caleb Williams. You know, he paints his nails, he does weird shit like that. I think it pisses people off.
Yeah,
I think he's probably a good kid personally.
I think he's a great guy. I think he's
Yeah.
obviously he's going to be the number one overall pick. He's the best like eye
Prospect
test,
for
probably the
a
best
long time.
he's the best probably ever. I mean, you got Andrew Luck, you got John Elway, you have Trevor
Well, I
Lawrence,
think they
Cam
said Andrew
Newton.
Luck like was the best ever. So unless there's been another best ever since Andrew Luck, like Andrew Luck's like I guess the prototype like best ever guy to come out of college. So like, and I would say Caleb Williams is like way better. Like, and you know if you kind of just like imagine the two of them, like he's like just better.
Well, he's doing like Mahomes type of stuff,
Yeah,
and
and
like
Mahomes is like the fucking hot thing in the NFL right now. So they're like, oh shit, maybe another Patrick. Maybe we can get us a fucking Pat Mahomes. We'll fucking show them.
yeah,
The
and then the
Chiefs.
difference between Mahomes in college is he was on Tech, he wasn't on a very good team.
Hey,
But
this motherfucker
imagine if
on
Mahomes was
USC.
on a great team, he would have
He would have
been
been the better.
the best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it'd have been unbelievable. And I don't actually. I don't know. Maybe not. He was pretty. I was like careless with the football. He was just fucking motherfuckers out there just throwing it. Like remember that game against OU and him and Baker? They would throw like 500 some odd yards each. Like they were
yeah, it was
just
like a
throwing it.
thousand
Like
combined yards. Yeah,
yeah, against any good defense, like that's not gonna happen. And there's gonna be turnovers and shit. Like in college, it seems like he was just throwing it. Now he's a lot more careful.
I do think there's some benefit to not being on a good team in college than jumping, because if you're going to be a top pick, you're most likely going to a
Going to a
team that's
shitty
not very
no
good.
O line
So you need to be prepared. Like Shador, I think he has the best shot of being
because
pretty good straight away because he's used
because
to
his
not having a
athlete
lot of talent
and
around
he's
him.
athletic. He's already fucking happy feet in the pocket because he has to be, and he's accurate when he's like he's good. He's looking really good under pressure.
Yeah, I'll take that back. Shador has tons of talent around him, but like on the offensive line specifically, you're going to go to a team if you get drafted like top 10,
They're
your
gonna
team's
be a
not going to
better.
have an offensive line.
Well, it's gonna be better than what he had. Oh, but then you gotta like equate like the defensive line or the defensive talent. Like it probably would even out. So it's bad
Yeah.
regardless.
But yeah, he does
Uh,
have great receivers to throw to. Don't get me
they're
wrong.
they're pretty good. I don't think they're great. I think they're pretty good. But
They're really
this past
good.
week they weren't good at all. They were fucking dropping all kinds of shit.
All right. So where are we at? You have Penix
That
at
was
2. I had
three.
Shador at
Yeah,
2. So we pretty much talked about our 2 and 3. So one, Caleb Williams, he didn't even play this weekend.
yeah.
Did nothing. He still hasn't thrown an interception.
Oh, and if he threw for his similar, he's not even like I don't know. If you look at this and Penix, like Penix is gonna outperform him. Like if they keep playing similarly, like because he's throwing for 400 something. Like he's barely scratching 300. The touchdowns is gonna keep him close, and then I'm sure he's gonna have probably some more interceptions. And he's already getting a little more pressured, but I think they've probably played some maybe better teams. Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, if 'cause I don't know if they're on each other's schedule, Washington and USC, but I'm pretty sure they are. And even if they aren't, there's a good chance they could meet up in the Pac-12 championship. But if Penix beats Caleb head to head, yeah,
That
they
might be
do
the
have them.
winner. Yeah, that might be the winner there.
That might determine who the Heisman is, who wins that game.
And fucking November, beginning of November, the Heisman might be born.
Right around when the Heisman push is really going on.
That's like you're pushing for like fucking playoff spots. You got your rivalry week coming up. Like those last 3 weeks are fucking jam packed. And I've noticed on a lot of like good teams, like their last like 3 games is like heavy. Like there's a lot of teams with some heavy sledding in their like final 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, USC has a pretty tough schedule this year. I mean, if you look at it, they got Colorado, which they're not going to have Travis Hunter.
Yeah,
So that's going to maybe tip that USC's way. But then they have Notre Dame, Utah. They got to break with Cal, and then they got to play Washington, Oregon, and UCLA in a row.
yep.
And UCLA
That's
is pretty
tough.
good. And normally, even if UCLA is bad, that's a rivalry game. I've seen UCLA upset them when USC has been heavily favored, and I don't think they're going to
Yeah,
be that heavily favored this time. They're going to be favored, but probably
not by
not to the extent that they usually are.
And they fuck up, they lose one of these games. It could be a domino effect. They might lose another one.
I think
Uh,
they lose too. Just looking at this, I'm like, there's no way they win. If they win all these games, give Caleb the Heisman, they're probably going to win the whole thing. I don't know.
all right, let's see here. Win. I think they
Win
blow
probably.
out Colorado because they're gonna. I think USC's probably got a better offense than Oregon, and I think Oregon's gonna beat them by at least 2 scores. So that's another gimme. This game's gonna be fucking tough, and we'll see more after this weekend when they play Ohio State. If they beat Ohio State, this is probably a loss for USC.
And it's at Notre Dame, which is a very
Yeah,
tough place to
I
play.
I would say this is a loss for USC if Notre Dame wins this weekend. Utah, I don't know. I fucking like Utah, but they keep disappointing me all the time.
Can't
So
Cam Rising should be
can't
back by then.
should we never know. He might be sitting the year out. He'd probably still go in the fucking first round.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's a gimme. And then I think they,
I think Washington and Oregon are like coin
I think
flips.
they only lose to Notre Dame. To be honest with you,
See, I
unless
think they lose to Washington.
unless Washington's got that defense that we think they might have, and we hope they have, then I think Washington wins that game. But if they don't have another like a defense, if it's just like USC and it's a shootout, I think USC is just gonna have like the superior performance.
I just think you put Michael Penix in that offense against an Alex Grinch defense, and it's going to be a bad time for USC.
Well, I mean, and it's a home game for USC, but like, does USC even have fans? Like, they're kind of like the Rams.
Well, so USC is in this weird spot where college football is not really that popular in LA.
California, no, it's not.
Because I
But
mean,
like,
you got the Rams, you got the Chargers. At this time of the year, they're gonna have the Lakers and the Clippers playing.
and you gotta think too, like back when USC was good, that was like early 2000s, right? That's different economy in California and LA. Like all the USC fans probably fucking left California. So like, did they sell out their stadium? I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, if you look at just their like, I just don't think people care about college football in LA like
Yeah.
in these like smaller areas, like Big 12 country, SEC country. That's really all they have is college football. Like Oklahoma don't have an NFL team, or let alone 2 NFL teams. to focus
Fuck,
your attention on, and then two NBA teams and
and
two
baseball
MLB
teams
teams,
and
two
soccer teams. Fucking two of
hockey
everything.
teams. They have
Like,
two of everything.
yeah, who cares about fucking college football? So I don't know. But it's a home game for them. But is it really? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we will.
All right, we went through Caleb Williams.
Uh, what have we got left? I mean, we
Yeah,
have a
you have a
hot seat.
defensive team
Oh,
performance.
defensive
Do you have
team.
anybody?
No, actually, I didn't have anybody. Um, being put on the spot, I'd probably give that to Alabama. Their defense did play phenomenal.
I had to like kind of dig for like a good one. I was like looking through and I'd find a team with like 2 turnovers or like something like that. And then I find fucking this Wake Forest Old Dominion game that Wake Forest almost loses to Old Dominion. So I think
Oh wow,
Wake Forest, I think, ended up with 10 sacks in this game. They got 3 turnovers, 2 turnovers. Like this game is a goddamn just all over the place. Look at this.
that's insane.
Where's the sacks at? It's not on this one.
I feel like this happened last week where we couldn't find us. They don't have the sacks pulled up.
I think I had here we go. So 10 sacks, 12 tackles for
Wow.
loss. Um, Old Dominion has 4 sacks, 11 tackles for loss. A fumble. Where's the interceptions at? 2 interceptions from him, 1 from here. It's just like defense. It's not even for like one team. It's just like both teams. They're just defense, but no defense at all at the same time because they're giving up all these points. It's just a fucking mess. And then they were down 17-0. Wake Forest came back. So
I mean, this is Wake Forest without Sam Hartman. Apparently,
and
this is the
they're
Wake
3-0.
Forest this is the Wake Forest we know. Really?
No, it's not because Wake Forest that we know is like ass. They're 3-0. I mean, they probably played nobody, but yeah, they played
Yeah, they
nobody.
haven't
They
played
beat
anybody
Vanderbilt.
yet. I bet you they get blown out by Georgia Tech.
Hey, they beat Vanderbilt, the SEC team.
Vanderbilt,
Or is that a
they
Big Ten team?
no, they're SEC.
Yeah,
They're the
I get
worst
them in.
SEC team.
I get them in Purdue mixed up.
Yeah, so do I because they have the same colors
Yeah, they do, don't they?
and they're both kind of like eh.
Yeah, I don't even know. Is Wake Forest good? Are they bad? Like, yeah, they'll probably lose to Georgia Tech. We'll see. This could be an interesting game, to be honest. I
Looking at
might
the schedule, I don't think they win again until NC State.
they might be Syracuse. Yeah, they might be an NC State. They could be Pitt. Virginia Tech's kind of bad.
Oh yeah, Virginia Tech's not that great.
And they already got 3 wins, so they could end up with like 6. They could make a bowl game.
They could probably make a bowl game. It's not too
But
out of the
I just
realm
thought
of
that shit was.
possibilities.
I thought that was crazy. I was like, 10 sacks? That's insane. I don't even know the last time I seen a game with 10 sacks.
Yeah, I didn't focus heavily on defense. Yeah, it'd either be Alabama or Oklahoma with the 5 interceptions.
It took me quite a bit of searching. I almost just didn't pick one and I was gonna like, hope you had something. You got anybody new for the hot seat?
I mean, we touched on Mike Gundy, which
Mike
we've already
Gundy,
talked
obviously.
about.
I didn't add anybody, but you could almost take Billy Napier from Florida off with that.
Yeah,
that
I actually
rivalry
I never
win.
had him on mine.
I did, and I thought they were gonna lose, to be honest, and I thought they were gonna have a bad year after they opened up the season and they just didn't look that great. So, but it could probably come off. I think if they end up having a bad season, I think he'd still be fine. But if with that Tennessee win in their pocket, that's a big win for them. So I think he's safe.
They're
And
looking pretty
then
good going forward.
Brian Kelly might be safe, but
Oh, absolutely. He's safe.
unfortunately, the little weasel. So
he's more than safe, I think.
unfortunately, I would love to see him get fired again.
He's probably gonna get an extension. The way
They
they're
should probably
looking.
they need to go get fucking Ed Orgeron back. That's my dude.
I'm surprised he didn't like. I don't know if he's gonna come back or not. I'm surprised he hasn't made a comeback.
He's not anywhere. I think where did I hear? Northwestern. Did you say that?
Yeah, I said that, and then I
Uh,
was reading that he denied that, like he doesn't have any interest in going to Northwestern.
I
And
feel
then
like
there's
it
some
was.
talk about him going to USC as like a coordinator, which I guess he didn't want to do because they ended up getting Cliff Kingsbury, and then they,
That's
I
a
mean
good. I think that's a good pickup for a coordinator. It might not turn out to be good, but I think like ideally like and on paper, why not? Dude was just a fucking NFL coach. He's coached Kyler Murray. Like
he
he's
coached
coached
Kyler Murray in
Patrick
the NFL,
Mahomes.
Mahomes, Baker Mayfield his year at Tech.
Yeah, so I think that's like a pretty good offensive coordinator
No,
pickup.
I think that's a gene. I mean, because you got the two best offensive minds probably in college football on the same team with Lincoln
You just
Riley and Cliff
you just
Kingsbury
need to
with Caleb Williams.
Go get Lane Kiffin. You got the fucking
Dream team right there.
and only one of them's a player. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't have a too much change on my hot seat. It's, I don't know. It's too early in the year to
Yeah.
really like know who's gonna be on the hot seat.
It's like
Uh,
Dion still has coach of the year locked on. I did add Maryland's head coach Michael Loxley, who's also like kind of like an underrated coach. He's got Maryland sitting at 3-0. And you know what? I wanted to talk about fucking Maryland's QB to his little brother. So I want to like, what do you think like on the off season? Like, how much like extra work and like shit does that kid get because his brother's in the NFL? Like, he's already in the league, so like, does he get to like? I wonder if he gets to go to like Miami and like train at the facility. Like, does he get all this extra shit that these other kids might not have access to?
I bet you he does. I mean, because Tua is gonna hook him up with a good
100%.
quarterback coach.
Yeah.
And these players get together all the time, just
And I
random
think,
off-season workouts. Like, oh, hey, go throw to
yeah.
Tyreek for a little bit.
And that may not be as big of a deal now that the NILs came out and like all these, big name players are making all this money. So they could afford to, pay these quarterback coaches in off season and all and continue to get all this work compared to like before. You got to think like, yeah, if you were a good quarterback, maybe a higher prospect, like what do you do in the off season if you don't have these like resources to go? Like you just fucking train in your backyard or at the school, like what do you do?
Yeah, I bet you he has quite a bit of resources.
Yeah, so I'm
I
thinking
mean,
like
because Maryland's not a school that's gonna hook you up with like the best like
no.
coaches and stuff in the offseason. Maryland's quietly a really, really good team.
I think they can have a good year.
Have they lost yet?
No, they're 3-0.
I'm
See,
surprised they're not in the top 25, but I bet you they'll slide their way up there.
let's see. I think it's in rankings. No. Yeah, I think they did have some votes. They got 4.
Yeah,
Um
they're getting some attention.
Okay, so they're gonna run into Ohio State, Penn State, and or Michigan for the East in the Big Ten. I think they could potentially beat one of those teams. They're pretty solid. That's a big trap team. I don't think they'll win like the East. They're not gonna like run the gauntlet probably, but
No, but they're gonna have to play Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State, and I bet you they could come out with at least one of those. Probably just one. I don't think they're gonna win all
and
three,
they
or
got
maybe even
fucking
two.
and they got Illinois. Illinois's got a good defense. They gave Penn State a good little run for a bit.
Illinois, man, they're 0 and no, they're 1-2. I forgot
Yeah,
they won the first one barely. But
they probably
Illinois is
don't.
so disappointing to me because I like Illinois. I really liked them last year too, and they're not as good this
I
year.
don't. They probably got no offense this year. I haven't watched any other games, so I don't know what they got going on. But I hate to see it because they were a cool pick last year. I think we was like, oh, sleeper picks for the playoffs because their defense was so dominant and
Yeah,
keeping them to like winning games, and their offense was doing okay. So we was like, let's go, and then they ended up. Who did they lose to? I think they were undefeated when they played Michigan. I think Michigan beat them.
yeah. I know they dropped like 2 or 3 towards the end of the season, and it
Yeah.
was just kind of like that's it for them. But they did have a good year. Maryland, maybe they're that underdog Big Ten team this year that
I wonder what like I wonder what a bet for like Maryland to win the Big Ten would be. Because I don't think it's like outside the realm of possibility. But I'm just like kind of curious, like what the payout would be. Let me check.
I
I'm
bet
so
you it's a pretty
curious.
good payout.
Let's see here. Sunbelt, Big Ten. They got like plus 10,000 odd. All right, so $10 gets you $1,010. I might slap this down because I don't. It's probably a waste of money, but all right,
I
I
mean,
hear
it's $10.
$5 gets you 505. So I'm gonna slap that down. So I like this Maryland team. I think they could fuck somebody's ear up. And if Ohio State loses to Notre Dame, right? And if that's like the one team out of the three that they beat, maybe Michigan and Penn State beat each other in some form or fashion, and another one drops. So like they could drop some games, and maybe Maryland could be sitting there with like the same record in like a best case scenario.
Yeah, if they have a head to head on one of those teams that they're competing with and they get in. I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility. Obviously,
Highly unlikely,
that
but
division is so stacked, it's probably
man,
not going to happen.
if they were in the West though,
The West is usually like a pretty bad team ends up coming out with it.
other than Iowa, they would fucking probably run through this. Iowa's probably gonna be the like what's that bet looking like? Because that's almost a guarantee. Their
Yeah.
defense is playing really good.
Did you
Like,
see McNamara's press conference?
mm-mm.
It was the funniest thing I've seen all year. He was like, "Man, we got to be prepared because these guys are going to be coming a lot." And he starts laughing, and all the reporters start laughing at the same time.
What a fucking troll. That's fantastic. I guess we'll go ahead and take a look at the schedule for next week. Unless you got anything else you wanted to touch on.
No, I think we're to this point.
All right, let's see here. Da-da-da. So you like that Rutgers Michigan game? It's early. I think if it was an evening game, I think it would be maybe a little something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I
But
think Michigan's probably going to win by probably about 2 to 3 scores, but I
yeah,
think Rutgers is going to give them a little
but
bit more than they thought.
this could be a fun early game if you wanted to. You maybe like watch Blake Corum fucking pound the rock on Rutgers, which he probably do. He'll probably go for over 100. But then you got Florida State at Clemson at the same time. So like I'm obviously gonna be watching that game and
Yeah, I'll be watching OU in
sweating.
Cincinnati. Well, I'll be at work maybe.
I'll probably be like flipping through that one a little bit too. That's 11 o'clock slot's kind of loaded.
And it's at
Um,
Cincinnati. That's what kind of makes me a little nervous about it.
yeah, there's it's a lot of ads. I don't like the
That's a long travel, from Oklahoma to Ohio.
true. Kentucky at Vanderbilt. I'm keeping an eye on this Kentucky team. They got Devin Leary from NC State transferred over. So they got a proven guy. Will Levis left. He wasn't really able to get it done, but I don't fucking like Will Levis. Yeah, I don't think he's any good. Where did he go again?
Did he go
Who drafted him?
to Tennessee?
He's not
I
starting.
guess.
Is he still
No,
Tannehill?
Tannehill's a
Okay.
starter.
But I think Kentucky might surprise somebody in the SEC this year. They could be good.
Yeah, there's a good
Um,
possibility of
and
that.
then
SMU at TCU is a good
yeah,
one.
that's what I'm saying. This 11 o'clock slot, like there's a good 4 or 5 games that are like worth watching. I still don't know why Clemson's not ranked. I think we got hosed. And then so following that, then you got Colorado at Oregon, which is I think game day this weekend, right?
I think it might be.
And you got UCLA, Utah at 2:30, Ole Miss, Alabama 2:30, Maryland at Michigan State, who we were just talking about.
BYU at Kansas is
BYU,
gonna be a great
Kansas,
game.
yeah, that'll be very interesting. So we'll see is Kansas still good? BYU is always pretty decent.
They're coming off a good win against Arkansas.
Oklahoma State at Iowa State. We'll see if they fucking what they
I've
be
never
looking
seen
like.
Iowa State like favored against Oklahoma State.
I don't think I have either.
I think OSU might actually pull out the win.
And then
Hopefully for their sake.
Got some more good games in this. This is a loaded weekend actually. So we got Arkansas at LSU. Arkansas, I'm pretty sure is undefeated. They look.
No, they
They,
lost to BYU last
oh shit, they
weekend.
did. I thought they won that game. Okay,
No,
never
they
mind.
lost, but I mean they
I
played all right.
I think they're a solid team. They could potentially give LSU a little bit of a run. Oregon State at Washington State. We touched on this one earlier. This might be the best game of the weekend.
I think it's the most
It it
evenly matched.
it very well could be. Uh,
App State at Wyoming is actually a really good
yeah,
matchup.
we could see if Wyoming how they're looking after that Texas game. Texas at Baylor could be interesting. Both of them have been looking weird. Ohio State at Notre Dame. Iowa at Penn State. North Carolina at Pitt. UCF at K State. Yeah, this weekend's nuts. You think there's any upsets this weekend?
I'm sure there will be. I just don't know who it's gonna be. There's always an upset.
I think last year we had an upset every week. And I think
Yeah,
I think so far, like when you consider an upset, it's like usually someone in the top 25 losing to an unranked team. So like I think so far we've had one every week too.
yeah. I think I really, I obviously I think Oregon's gonna win, but I think Colorado has the best shot of an upset. There's
You
something
think
about this
so?
team. I really,
I don't know. Clemson's got a pretty good shot
yeah,
since
that is true.
they're
It is in
technically
Death Valley.
that would be considered. It's considered an upset. Uh, who else?
I don't know
Do
if
you?
you
I
consider
think
UCLA an upset over Utah, but I think that's a
I would
possibility.
say yeah. I think Duke could be on upset alert. I don't think so. I don't think they'll lose, but I think they could have some trouble.
Um, yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole
Texas.
lot. Texas, I mean, they are
I-
playing
If
Baylor.
if Texas is ever gonna just lose a game to a random fucking team on their schedule in a season that they're having, it's gonna be this one.
Well, I mean, we did go down the whole little rabbit hole
Dude,
of like
I might
Baylor,
I might slap
Utah,
a
and all these
bet on
teams.
Baylor over Texas. I feel there's like a weird I get a weird feeling about that game. We're
It could
looking at it.
happen.
We're
Yeah.
looking at it just now. It kind of caught my eye, and it's in fucking Waco at night. That student section gonna be going crazy at night.
Baylor did give Utah a run. They gave them a really good run.
I
That's
like
a good
it.
possibility. Um, I don't think Arizona State's going to
No,
give
no,
USC any trouble.
no chance. There's
Washington, I think, is going to be fine.
I think there's like 3 games that are potentials for upset, but other than that, probably not. Everybody else should handle their business.
But it's funny because I mean, we kind of had this feeling last week, like, oh, there's not a whole lot going on,
Dude,
and it turned into a crazy weekend.
I'm so scared. Dude, I almost cried, man. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I was holding my baby, and they was on that drive. Like we were up by 2, and they were driving, and I was like, they were going. Like I had tears kind of forming in my eye. I was like, this is it. They're gonna go fucking kick a field goal.
No, there's
Uh,
nothing worse than when you're ranked really high and you have
it,
all these hopes, and then
you're just watching. You're
you
watching
just
them
see your
drive down the
season
field.
like fade
Like,
away from you.
yard by yard, and it was a slow drive. It's slow drive, 1 yard, 1 yard. You're just like they're forming, and I couldn't get mad because I was holding my baby, but I just want to start crying. I was so upset. Now, if we lose to Clemson, like okay, like that's a little more reasonable. It's a rivalry on the road, like they're a good team
They'll jump
supposedly.
up, they'll jump up in the rankings too. They'll probably be, like
Yeah,
19 or
but
something if they beat you.
losing a fucking Boston College is unacceptable. That's like I would have cried.
I will be awfully disappointed if OU drops to Cincinnati just because we're
Yeah,
getting to the point where I'm starting to have some hope again.
Cincinnati's a scary team. Just
Yeah, and I mean they're coming off this loss to Miami of Ohio, which should mean that we destroy them, but I just feel like Cincinnati is going to be way more prepared. They probably were looking ahead to this week, and that's what got them in that situation.
where was this? Oh yeah, they beat Cincinnati. I think that was I wanted to touch on that, and I think you brought it up, and I was thinking it was something different. That's why I had a Miami of Ohio rabbit hole. So
I
maybe
mean, they got beat
maybe
pretty decisively by Miami.
true. And there ain't really anybody else on their schedule to kind of give them. I mean, I'm sure these teams are good. I just don't follow these teams. So I don't know if they're any good.
Yeah, unless they creep up towards like the 20 top 25 or just outside of it. I normally don't follow a group of 5 teams. I try to do my due diligence and kind of take a look at them, but there's
It's
just
just
so
too
much
just
going
too
on in
many.
the Power Five to keep up with. And I mean, we got other things going on. We don't have like a research department
Yeah,
to
we ain't got fucking assistants. Like, oh, this is a stat that you should talk about that happened in the Mountain West against it was Boise State against fucking Idaho State, and Idaho State threw for 1,000 yards on them. See, if that happened, I mean, we'd probably never hear about it.
yeah. I mean, we don't have somebody preparing our notes for us. A
Dude,
lot
a
of the time,
thousand
we're,
yards in a
we're,
game
we're
is
learning a lot of things
crazy.
on the fly.
Do you imagine?
Yeah, I don't think that's ever happened. I mean, I'm sure
It's
like 1,000
there's
total
no
team
way.
yards has happened
Yeah,
like once, maybe.
it would have to. I don't know if like
So I think the record like for most points in a game is like 105 or something like that.
yeah, probably way back in like the early 1900s or something.
Yeah,
Something crazy. They're out there playing in the mud in some small field.
leather
It's like good. It's
helmets.
like it's like a pickup game in high school or middle school. That's what they're doing. Dude, drop 105 on this team.
When you look at those like old like time teams, like Harvard
Could
won like so many championships and stuff.
you imagine being on a team that got beat 105 like to whatever? Like what the fuck? Like how do you what do you do? Like how
I
do you live with yourself? 105? How many fucking how many touchdowns is that?
They probably all have to.
Like if they did say like they
That's like
scored all
13 touchdowns,
touchdowns,
I think.
that's 15 touchdowns. Like what
15
the fuck?
touchdowns. I don't even know what I would do. I'd probably quit the team. Be like, we are Marshall. You got to find a whole new team.
I would myself. I'm not
Yeah.
going. I'm not going anymore. I'm over with. Fuck that.
How do you live with
100,
yourself?
105 points. Like what the fuck? What are you playing? Middle schoolers?
Yeah.
I don't even. Do you think like if you think like Alabama, like the best college team plays the best high school team, you think they could put 105 on them?
Probably so, I'd
You
say.
think so?
Yeah, I think so.
105 in 4 quarters.
Yeah, I think so. I think that
So
would
it would be like
happen.
Okay, that one might be a little easier. But let's say okay, say like the worst NFL team against like the best college team. You think they're putting 105 on them?
Nah, I bet you they win like
I think that one's.
55 to like nothing.
You don't even think they score? Yeah, I don't
Probably
think they
not,
score either,
unless
bro.
it's one
Like,
of those super loaded like
dude, I was
0-1
watching.
Miami or
I
Burrow LSU.
see. I think this could settle a lot of like debates. Like that Carolina game with the Saints, right? Last night. And it was like Bryce Young's like first home game playing this crazy fucking Saints defense. And they was absolutely getting after him. So like imagine like that Saints defense playing against like a fucking an all college team with none of those like NFL caliber players. It's just like Bryce Young and that Alabama team playing against I don't know who the Texans or something.
Yeah, they probably still.
I
Yeah,
think they'd get after him. It'd be so hard. Like I think they could score though. I think they could
I,
get one.
they could
I
get a
think
touchdown.
they
Maybe,
could get a
maybe, maybe,
touchdown.
maybe two.
It'd be tough, man. That game just really put it and like seeing Bryce Young like struggle after seeing him never struggle in college. I was just like kind of just puts it in perspective, like how different the NFL is. It might not look entirely too different, but if like you kind of know what you're looking at and you're able to like deep dive into like the defense and you're like, oh shit, he's having a
You,
tough fucking time out there.
you could just tell by how little they score in the NFL compared to college. Like you
Yeah.
don't see like 40 is like the equivalent to a college like 60 something.
Yeah. And it don't happen super often. Oh, we don't got to talk about the one that we ain't
40
talking
to
about it.
40 to nothing.
We're not talking about it.
It's the
But
Cowboys year.
eh, I think it's the 49ers. They don't look like beatable in any facet of the word beatable. They don't look it unless they have like a significant injury like Purdy or McCaffrey or like Fred Warner or Bosa.
Yeah.
I don't see them losing a game, which is crazy. And I think that if they run into like the Dolphins, let's see, do they put the Dolphins in the regular season? Because I think the Dolphins could beat them in the regular season. Like the playoffs, probably not. or beat the
That's a
49ers.
potential Super Bowl 49ers versus Dolphins. That's a strong possibility.
Yeah. It's looking like it's gonna be the 49ers and the Cowboys meeting up in the
Ooh,
conference
week
championship
5 is
again.
gonna be a game.
All right, so they're blowing the fucking Cardinals out. They probably got starters sitting in halftime type game. Um, Cowboys 49ers, like this gonna be fucking close. This gonna be a very close game. Prime time, maybe. I think the 49ers should still win.
It's at San Francisco, so
So yeah, that's actually really good for them. And then at the Browns, Browns have a really good defense, but Sean Watson's still struggling. So unless he gets it going by then, they should win that game. The Vikings might not even have fucking Kirk Cousins by this game. They're thinking there's a lot of people thinking he might go to the Jets. Like the Jets might try to
like
pull
some
him in
trade rumors.
to try to salvage something. Because I think the Jets have like 10 million in cap space, and I think that's like all that they would need to get Kirk Cousins because he's at like the last year of his contract. And people are, I guess, thinking the Vikings are supposedly trying to tank this year. So if they can get rid of Kirk Cousins, like go fall down and maybe get a good guy that they want coming out of the draft, because there's a lot of guys that could come into the league and perform pretty well. A lot of people think so. They don't really need Kirk Cousins if they're trying to lose anyways. And maybe they even ship Justin Jefferson for more. So that's a definite win. The Bengals, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Joe Burrow's hurt again. Um, he'll probably be back because I think it's just his calf thing, but he's played like shit anyways, so that's probably a win. At the Jags will be a little
Probably
tough.
win, but I
They gave the
mean,
Chiefs all they could fucking handle, but they just couldn't get anything going on offense. Probably a win. Bucks,
Buccaneers probably a win.
I would say so, but fucking Baker Mayfield looks like Tom Brady out there, motherfucker.
He's having a good year. I'm proud of him. I'm happy
I am
for him.
too, but he kind of fucked my. It wasn't just him, but I would have been mad if it was just him. Seahawks, that's a probably win, but they're playing on the road. That's I don't know. I think they still win that game at Philly. That's pretty
Probably
tough.
that could be a loss.
That might be their one loss. I think when the Seahawks come home, I think they beat them again. That one on
Yeah.
the road that'll be closer. I think this one won't be as close. Blowout. I think they still beat the Ravens. This might be a little closer than we think. Commanders have a semi decent defense. This one will be actually a really good game, I think. The Rams are looking like real reinvigorated, whole new offense type thing.
Yeah,
Young,
Stafford's looking like at the end of last year, it looked like Stafford was kind of done for. Like that might be the end of his career, but
yeah,
now he's playing like
he's
like
playing like
he
he's fucking
was.
like 28, and they got no Cooper Cup, and they're fucking balling. They're like the second best offense in the league. It's weird, and their defense is playing really well. So I don't know, man. I think the 49ers are pretty fucking good.
I'm on the Cowboys bandwagon
I
as
will
far
never
as
root for the
who
Cowboys. I root
uh,
for their demise.
I'm
I
not
seen
so
it.
much rooting for them as much as I just think they're really really good.
Yeah, I seen a. I think I was watching Colin Cowherd this morning, and they was like talking about Micah Parsons winning MVP.
I'd love to see a defensive player win it.
It would be him or Bosa, because you could say TJ Watt, but the fucking the Steelers are gonna lose games, so that's gonna like knock him down a little bit. Micah Parsons and fucking Bosa could be undefeated potentially.
Yeah, I
Doubt
mean
it.
they'll never give it to a defensive guy. I mean all those years that like JJ Watt was having those phenomenal seasons, they just like ended up
Yeah,
giving
but
it to Aaron Rodgers
the
or
Texans weren't like winning. Right, they would maybe occasionally make the playoffs,
well they were
but
making the playoffs like because I remember in 2014 like
that was when they
it's
got
pretty much
blown
like
out by the
like
Chiefs, right?
no I mean I think they made the playoffs because I remember like it was like
Yeah,
JJ Watt should win MVP and they were like at least a wild card team and then
I'm
they just
pretty
gave
sure
it to
that's when they got
Rodgers.
blown out by the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs ran like the opening kickoff back. Because I remember like I was at my buddy's house, and he was a Texans fan, and I bet 50 on the Chiefs to beat them if this is the year, which is about that same time, and they just beat the dog shit out of them. So I'm curious if that's that year,
Yeah.
but
We'll see. I would love to see a defensive player win it.
that
It'd
was
be
sweet.
cool. You never see it happen. But
It's looking like it would be one of those two guys if anybody this year is going to do it.
yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, we went off on a little NFL tangent here. Um,
We used to do like separate NFL episodes, but we just don't really have the time to like film a whole separate NFL episode. and go through the entire NFL. Like
Well, and after like a Saturday of like dedicating it to watching college football, like
I don't even
On
watch.
Sundays, I just want to watch like maybe one game.
Yeah, I watch maybe my team if I can catch it, maybe like the primetime game. But yeah, that's all I got, man. You got anything else?
Nope, I think we're done for this episode. Thank you guys for 100 subscribers.
Yeah, big
Oh yeah,
milestone.
we finally three digits. So thanks to the new people, and especially thanks to the people that were watching us like from the very beginning.
For
Hopefully
sure.
we'll keep going up. But yeah, that's it for this week. So we'll catch you all next week.